Now, ladies and gentlemen, with those magic words of motorsports, Mr. Jim Schreier, Executive Vice President, Daimler Chrysler.
NASCAR Winston Cup drivers, start your engines!
7th Fighter Squadron Michigan International Guard adds their salute to ours. And happy Father's Day. We're set to go racing 70 miles west of Detroit. You know Detroit, Hockey Town, Motown, the Motor City. Had a lot of blues here last night. Gonna have a little good old Motown rock and roll. We're ready to race for 400 miles in Winston Cup Racing's first of 2 trips to the Irish Hills of Michigan. For 2002, here's the Walmart starting grid for today's race. Dale Jarrett's looking for his 4th. He got his first win here, first win ever, alongside Michael Walter with 4 top 10s the last 6 races. Dale Earnhardt Jr., pole winner here in 2000, and Bill Elliott has 7 wins here.
Let's see if we can get a hold of Dale Jr. here. Hey, Junior, it's a DW. How you read, bud?
Going into turn 3, back straight away. I read good, DW.
Let me ask you something. You got your work clothes on today?
Yeah, I better have my own. It's going to be a long race.
Car good?
It wasn't bad practice. There's a lot of good cars. Michael's got a great car. We get on off pit road and have everything go our way. We might get something good out of this.
All right, bud. Keep your chin up. Hang in there and be tough today.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to everybody.
Yeah, 10-4, man. Thanks.
One positive sign, yesterday he was wearing his cap with the bill turned forward, or rather on Friday on qualifying day. He says, we got to get running better so I can turn this cap around. He had it turned around this morning.
Yeah.
Now, one driver will not make the call, and that is Todd Bodine. Because of the rain delay at Kentucky last night, he has stayed there to run his Busch car, and the oldest of the Bodine brothers, Jeff, is in the number 26 Ford in replacing Todd.
We have 2 cars that will go to the rear. They were pretty near the rear anyhow for engine changes. Sterling Marlin in that 40 car, they had a lifter stick, tried to fix it, replaced it, stuck 2 lifters in the motor, and they had to change motors along with Derek Cope. Of course, Casey Atwood wrecks in qualifying, going to a backup car, so those 3 cars, even though they were near the rear, they would go all the way to the rear.
Jeff Hammond.
Today here at Michigan, NASCAR requires all the teams that start with 3.5 inches of ground clearance on their front valence. But watch these cars today. They'll have these skirts down, skipping the pavement on a smooth racetrack around this 2-mile race at Michigan. Also, the engines today, hanging RPMs can be very detrimental to these engines today. Cars have got to get up there, turn a lot of RPMs, 200 miles an hour. It's very hard on the engines here. We're watching for these guys to possibly have some valve train problems. As we come to the back of the race car, one thing today, a lot of guys are talking about the new rules for the Pontiac. How's the new spoiler in front end going to help these guys, or is it going to hurt them? A lot of teams have actually even laid this spoiler down some to try to pick up some speed. But believe it or not, it may not start at the front of the car who actually has an opportunity to win the race today. It actually may start here in the back. How much fuel can you get in your fuel cell? How much can you get out of it? And can you stretch your mileage and make these engines live and get fuel mileage to where you can go 400 miles further than anybody else on a tank of fuel? Mike?
Thanks, Jeff. In one lap, we'll be racing. Here's today's weather and race analysis brought to you by Lotrimin Ultra. 43 cars came to Michigan, actually 44, but Morgan Shepherd withdrew before qualifying. So we have just a full field to go 200 laps here.
Pit window 45 to 50 laps, like you heard Jeff Hammond talking about. It can always be an issue here. We've actually had several races here that were caution-free.
And if you go 50-50-50, you win.
Right. And there will be weather today.
Yes, there will. See, the air temperature, 62 degrees. Those old motors, they love that cool air. Track temperature, 90 degrees, cloudy. If that sun pops out, though, crew chief's going to have to go to work and start adjusting on those race cars. These cars will start sliding around.
And Larry, you'll be glad to know that the grass temperature here in the trial is 71 degrees.
You just wait what the temperature is going to be in your motor coach, though, next week.
We'll get you some new Lotrimin Ultra, the only once-a-day cure for athlete's foot. In the pits of the pole sitter and last week's winner, Dale Jarrett, he says, yes, momentum's on their side, but preparation got them the pole here. This car was all prepared long before they came even to Dover.
See, it's not just the driver. You see all those guys, they got their heads together. It's just like any other team. It's all about supporting each other.
Looking back through the top three, Jarrett, Waltrip, Earnhardt, and Bill Elliott. Onboard cameras with the top four. And keep an eye on the man in fifth place. I think the sleeper today is Ward Burton. He's trying to break out of a slump. There he is just in front of Elliott Sadler. And Burton not only qualified fifth, but he was second fastest in final practice.
He's been fast ever since they unloaded that race car on Friday.
Just a quick fact, interesting thing, that the average start winner came from 8th in 1996, now in 2002, 15th. So you can come from anywhere and win this race.
Perry County, Ohio says,
one thing we know for sure, you can't do anything, you can't go anywhere until you come down here and you look for that green flag and it's out waving. And boys, we're going to go racing. Boogity, 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 go boys!
Blues brother Dan Aykroyd gave the field the green flag, and Dale Jarrett leads them to turn 2.
Bill Elliott in the 9 car, though, he jumps to the high side at the start-finish line. We saw this yesterday in the ARCA race. That second line, you keep that momentum up, carry that speed down that back straightaway.
And you can see that Yates power kicks in down that straightaway, too. But let's see how Bill likes the outside going into turn 3 here. It should be good for him.
He's always been good here. He's won a lot of races here. He's considered the adopted son of Jackson, Michigan, and here he comes to lead lap 1.
And I believe, in my opinion, he is considered to be the favorite today, too, because that car has been fast. I believe he and Ray have got something working.
Darrell, he drove that thing in turn 3 and 4. That's what I love about Michigan. That second groove, that third groove, good grip, you can run up there.
Yeah, if you keep the engine wound up and you pull a little higher gear, save a little fuel, everything's better when you can run up around the top.
Jarrett had a run on the bottom, but he is thwarted by Ryan Newman, who's drafted Elliott down the backstretch.
Ryan Newman was a good learner right there. He saw how it worked for Bill Elliott.
Yeah, and guess what he'll do? He'll take it one higher. He says, if it's good up there in the third lane, let me get up in that outside lane up next to that wall.
Earnhardt Jr. alongside his teammate Waltrip.
Michael needs to go to school on these guys because he tried to run the bottom and they're all going around him.
Well, I was just about to say the top 10 cars were lined up with Michael Waltrip kicked it inside. About the time I was thinking that, Ryan Newman in 12, he turns it to the bottom of the racetrack.
Now here's where you got to be careful coming up off of these corners underneath somebody. You'll get that back end sucked right out from under you.
I mean, Darrell, you carry so much speed getting in these corners. It's right at 200 miles an hour, and you just breathe the throttle for a second. You pick it back up wide open well before the center of the corner.
Yeah, and we consider this track a relatively low bank track. 12 degrees of banking is not a lot of banking, and so you got a lot of speed, but not a lot of bank to hold you.
The field is trying to sort out single file. That's not an easy task once you get past 20th.
No, you kind of got comers and goers, you know. Guys that started up front, the cars aren't just right now. They'll be going back, and guys in the back that got it right, they'll be coming to the front. One of them is that 24 car back in there. He seems to be moving up pretty quick.
Up to 17th is Jeff Gordon after starting 24th. Here's Steve Park and John Andretti side by side.
It's a battle for 13th.
There's Gordon just at the bottom of the screen. He's working the bottom of the racetrack and getting the job done right now.
Up front, Dale Jarrett is in a lane by himself, and he's going to get overhauled here by Junior.
I just believe overall that the Dodge and the Taurus aerodynamically have the best balance for a track like this. They don't have to lay their spoiler down like maybe the Pontiacs and the Chevys do. Some of the Pontiac and Chevy guys are actually 70 degrees is a normal spoiler. They're back to 55, and I've even heard as low as 50 to try to get straightaway speed and balance.
Jeff Gordon in 24, Bobby Labonte in 18 car side by side. Jeff Gordon, he's been working the bottom of the racetrack at both ends, just like you see right here in 3 and 4.
Well, that's a good thing. If your car will run down there and you don't bog it down coming up out of the corner, then obviously it's the shortest way around the track, and it's a good way to pass people in a hurry.
Harvick in the middle, slices to the bottom with that silver car to go up against Steve Park and take the position away, 15th down in turn 1.
Pretty hard to make that stick. Pretty hard to drive under people right there and make the pass unless you slide. Put a slide job on them, then you can do it. But you got to be sure.
And he's back to 18th as quickly as he got up to 15th.
You can get a great run down this front straightaway, 3 or 4 wide, but when you get under the turn, the guy on the inside sometimes is in jeopardy.
And Darrell, you talk about the aerodynamic balance. I know this is a 2-mile racetrack. It takes about 40 seconds to get around this place, but you are turning. You're in the corners about 2/3 of that time. So So downforce and balance is pretty important.
Oh, yeah.
14 cars have broken away single file, but from 15th on back, it's a dogfight. You're right in the midst of it, riding with Johnny Benson, who is 27th.
And you can get a run on the guy. I mean, you can. The thing that happens here is you can have a fast car, but you can't go anywhere. You get a run on the guy, you get under him, but you can't quite make the pass.
Ryan Newman leads Bill Elliott. They're the only two drivers to lead in the 7 laps we've run so far at Michigan International Speedway. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has taken the lead from Ryan Newman, and that time coming off turn 2, Newman had to back out of the gas, and look at him stack up right behind him.
Yeah, they got a real race going on for second, but not for long because Bill just makes a pass. One of the best races I ever saw here in my life was the IROC race between Dale and Dale Sr., Dale Jr. I tell you what, they had everybody in this joint on their feet. So Dale Jr. knows how to run Michigan.
Let's show you the lead change at lap 10. Dale Earnhardt Jr. put the move to Ryan Newman.
Ryan may have overdrove the corner just a little bit. The car washed up with him. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 8 was able to pick that Budweiser throttle up a lot quicker and able to take the lead. And I talked to him this morning, Darrell, and they fought for that first hour in yesterday's practice. Tight, made some changes. They were pretty happy with the car. That's the oldest car in their stables, the one he won the Winston with at Lowe's Motor Speedway 2 years ago.
I can't tell you how many times I hear that through the years. It's the oldest car we got, but I love it. If we could just build a new car like this old one, I'd really be happy.
Let's get an update from Dick Berger.
Well, at about the same time, Earnhardt and Newman both keyed their radio and talked to their crews about the behavior of their race car. Earnhardt, Larry McReynolds, you got it right. His car is still very tight. Ryan Newman's problem is that his car is loose. They think the problem is at the right rear. They're going to work on air pressures when they get an opportunity to pit. Mike?
Among the biggest gainers, Jeff Gordon from 24th to 13th and Ricky Rudd from 26th to 16th. Jimmy Johnson has come from 14th to 7th in the 48.
48 car looks mighty strong right now.
And he's able to run at the bottom if he needs to, but he's able to run up high as well. And I talked to Chad Knaus this morning. He was happy with his race car. He said his little driver wasn't too happy, but he was convincing him by showing him lap times from practice. Hey, we're pretty good.
And you know, we talk about Yates power all the time, but we ought to tip the hat to Randy Dorton in that crowd too. Because Hendrick, I tell you, in the 48 and the 24, those cars have got steam on the hood too. They can hold their own with the Yateses.
Well, they are not lacking. Jeff Gordon has bypassed Mark Martin. Now he's after Elliott Sadler. This is for 11th place.
Clear. 6 behind you.
And Jimmy Johnson after Ricky Craven. This is for 5th.
And I tell you, in the first 15 laps, this has been probably the 2 best race cars right here. When I think about that Tide car, Darrell, the 32 car, anxious to see what happens when they hit pit road. Like a lot of teams and people were affected by that rain out in Kentucky last night, their rear tire changer works for the 10 car, Scott Riggs. He had to stay in Kentucky. They had to fly up one of Michael Waltrip's Busch tire changers to come up and change rear tires.
Yeah, there were a lot of teams that were scratching their heads up there last night, one driver included. It was Todd. He didn't want to stay, but he had made a commitment to the Busch car. I shouldn't say he didn't want to stay. I mean, he was, you know,
had a tough choice to make.
Like to have been here. He wanted to see it. Not too bad seeing his brother drive the car today either. He was pretty happy about that.
Bill Elliott trying to close on race leader Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I don't think he wanted Dale Jr. to get too far away from him. Junior shot out there, got a little lead, but Bill seems to have the power to chase him down.
Sterling Marlin,
Inside a fender, inside, 3 wide.
our Winston Cup leader. He had climbed up to 31st.
He's just back in there where it's tough sledding. You just get caught up with a lot of cars that are about the same speed as you are. Hard to get by them, and they come. Look at them. They come around you high. They come around you low. He slides right up in front of the 11 car. That's a good thing. Single file, he'll get away from those guys now.
Brett Bodine staying with him.
A lot of give and take here, more than you realize. I mean, you got to let a guy in when he's under you like that, or you'll wreck both cars.
Below the corner, still there, still there.
Bill Elliott looking for the lead once again.
I really like Bill's car. Bill took off there, led a couple of laps, fell back a little bit. Now that car's coming back.
He's there, outside.
And right there seems to be where he's been the strongest, from the center of 3 and 4 out, up in that second and third lane.
And the neat thing about that, Larry, you come off that corner on the high side, you can pass somebody. If they block you on the high side, you can drop down underneath, and you got a lot of different ways to win here.
Yeah, you can put the crossover move on. We saw Ricky Rudd do that on the last lap here last year. Gordon took it back to him on the outside going into turn 1. That's what I say. You look in the mirror and you say, I'm going to block that guy, and that guy says, don't do that, because I'm over here now. Believe it or not, this is a fun racetrack to race on.
You're riding with Casey Atwood, who's not having a fun day. He crashed in qualifying, said he might have slid in another car's oil, backed it in, destroyed that car. This is the backup car, and Atwood goes a lap down.
In his defense, when he wrecked qualifying, the suspect was that there possibly was some oil on the racetrack that caused him to wreck.
The laps tick off quickly here. 20 complete next time by of 200. Bill Elliott leads Michael Waltrip, Dale Jarrett, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jimmy Johnson. "23 laps complete, green flag all the way here at Michigan International Speedway. Bill Elliott, one of 3 leaders. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ryan Newman have each had a shot at the top spot.
And it's not uncommon to see this thing go green forever. The big racetrack got lots of grooves, lots of lanes to race in. You shouldn't make contact. Although I'm watching some of these guys kind of banging into each other as they go by right under us. Shouldn't be making contact here. You got enough grooves, enough lanes, enough lines to ought not have any problems.
I tell you, Darrell, Kyle is struggling. And the thing, I talked to Steve Lane, his crew chief, this morning. He ran a fast lap yesterday, but I stood up here in the booth for the entire practice. What I didn't like about what Kyle was doing, he was only running 2 or 3 laps at a time. You can't tell what your race car is going to do 2 or 3 laps at a time.
No, but you know what that also tells you, Larry? It tells you that he didn't like his car. He couldn't. I've been there. He couldn't stay out there and make those long runs because the car was so bad.
Down to Jeff Hammond.
Mike Darrell, one of the guys right now, has been one of the big movers here early on, has been Johnny Benson, local guy here, kind of hometown favorite. Started way back in 30th position, and he's been steadily closing the leaders and turning out some of the fastest lap times. I've been watching the lap counter here, and just recently he ran like a 41.90, which was equal to the leader. So he's really coming up through the field and looking very strong. Talked to a couple of guys on the crew early this morning, and they said, hey, this new rule change is kind of working good, and he's driving at that low underneath the 21 car of Elliott Saville right now for position.
So one of the things, Jeff, that the Pontiac guys said that they needed help in the race. They seemed to think they could qualify okay, but when they opened the grills up and got the cars ready to race, their cars were much worse than everybody else, became very unbalanced. So this could be just what they need for racing.
And what Johnny told me last night, they really wasn't asking for help in the rear. They needed the help in the front like you're talking about, but they didn't turn that rear downforce down because they have the ability, as we talked about a while ago, Jeff Hammond showed it to cutaway car, lay the spoiler back if you think you have too much rear downforce.
And drivers are reluctant to do that. They say, lay the spoiler down, I'll get loose. But I tell you what, sometimes it'll set a car on fire here particularly.
Ward Burton, who hope to have a strong day here at Michigan and be a contender for the win, is slipping back a bit. Steve Burns.
Yeah, Mike, and Ward comes in here having finished 30th or worse in his last 4 races. Ward is telling crew chief Tommy Baldwin the back end is skating. I have no rear grip. The other cars can drive in, or drivers can go in a lot deeper in the corner than I can. To Matt Yoakum.
Well, Steve, Bill Elliott continues to lead in the 9 car. He came on the radio 3 laps ago, the first time he's actually talked about his race car, and said the car is loose in the center and loose on exit. But other than that, the car is very good. When you see Bill Elliott, you can see the confidence in his walk, and you can hear it in his voice. He knows he has a good product that he can drive, and he's now just trying to showcase that. Really, other than last week's 30th at Pocono due to engine failure, his average finish in the 4 prior races was 7th. He had a heartbreaker taken away from him here last year. He was hoping to get Dodge their first win. He'd like to start out the Michigan run with back-to-back Dodge wins.
And I want to correct myself. I said there's no really reason to make contact here, but these 4 guys right here are proving me dead wrong. They have been banging all over each other, sliding up in front of each other, hooking each other. I'm surprised they hadn't wrecked one of them.
Kurt Busch on the move. He's climbed up to 6th place now. He's passed Earnhardt Jr. And he's going after Michael. And look at the 2 different lines that they run here through the corner.
And Mike, we talked to him yesterday, and he felt good about his chances here because he could only go up because both races last year, his only 2 starts, finished dead last both races.
Yeah, he wrecked off at turn 2 over there one race. I remember hooked it. Back in, came around, hooked the fence. But think about California, a sister track to this one. Very similar, not the same, but similar. Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch were at the head of the field all day long with Bill Elliott in hot pursuit.
Kurt said yesterday, this is a West Coast kind of track. It suits us West Coast drivers. Now, I don't know, Darrell, if there's a West Coast style, but certainly those fellas from out west do well here and in California.
Well, being from the South, I've heard there's a West Coast style. I don't know what it is, but I've heard they got a different style out there.
You know, we talk about different grooves. Jimmy Spencer, I've been watching him the last few laps. Now, he's back in 24th, but he has moved the groove all the way against the wall. Not so much in 1 and 2. I mean, he's pretty high in 1 and 2, but let's watch him go down the backstretch and watch him if he does the same thing in 3 and 4. He's about 5 lanes off the bottom of the racetrack. Not surprised. He's normally always one of the first ones to do it.
Yeah, and if that heat lamp comes out, these clouds go away, and that sun starts shining on this racetrack, you'll want every bit of that racetrack right up against the wall. Track conditions are pretty good right now, Larry, with this cloud cover. But this joint, let me tell you, she can change in a heartbeat. We've seen it with our leaders. Dale Jr. shoots out there, leads a while. That thing's like a flip a switch. All of a sudden, you'll slide the car a little bit, you'll make the tires mad, and the next thing you know, you're going backwards.
We're 31 laps into this run right here. This is where that crew chief is really starting to pick the brains of that driver. We're about 15 laps away from a pit stop. I need to know what that race car's doing.
Yeah, not only that, he's sitting there thinking, 50 laps is what you'd like to be able to run every stop, obviously. But without a caution to get a fuel gauge on what these cars are burning, you're going to have to stop short, Larry. You can't take a chance on running out of fuel early in the race like this. So probably nobody's going to be able to make it to that window this time.
I wonder if there's a Midwestern style. There's Benson on the bottom from Michigan, Matt Kenseth from Wisconsin right up the top of the racetrack, and Kenseth's Roush Racing teammate, Mark Martin, right behind in 16th.
That's that we'll meet in the middle style.
They were not very happy with Mark Martin's car yesterday in practice. Never did get it like he wanted it, and that's the same car that he was so dominant with at Dover before wrecking a couple of weeks ago.
33 laps complete, 39 of 43 starters on the lead lap as Bill Elliott leads Dale Jarrett now by half a second. Jimmy Johnson, Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch, Michael Waltrip, Ryan Newman, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Welcome back to NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on Fox, presented by Circuit City. No change among the top 10, but for Ryan Newman, who moves to 6th ahead of Michael Waltrip. And it's Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, and John Andretti, the top 10.
You know, we heard him talk about Ryan Newman being a little bit loose. What could be happening here? He's starting to pick back up a little bit. You almost have burned that full load of fuel off, so you're gaining a lot of nose weight, and that will tighten the race car up.
Yeah, to put a little more grip on those front tires, and so that could be what's happening.
Dale Jarrett under pressure from Jimmy Johnson for second place.
Just tell you, that 48 car just continues to impress week in and week out. I know people might get tired of hearing us talk about it, but I'm amazed. That's all I can tell you.
And look at here, this late into a run, he wants to turn it to the bottom of the racetrack. Here they're going to be side by side. He's going to fall back in behind though off turn 2. When he needs to turn that car to the bottom, he can do it.
That's what I've noticed about that car over all the others. He can go in hard, turn the wheel, cut the car to the bottom of the racetrack and accelerate off and never lose any grip or any control.
All right, we're closing into the pit window for Green Flag Racing. Dick Berggren.
Well, earlier in the broadcast, Darrell Waltrip talked about how wide this racetrack is, and with all the grooves, it's relatively easy for the drivers to avoid each other. Relatively easy to avoid accidents. One of the results of that is that this racetrack tends to have far fewer caution flags than others. In fact, over the last 5 years, this racetrack has averaged just 4 cautions per event. So far this year, we have averaged over 8 cautions per event. The importance of that is every pit stop counts. You mess up the first pit stop, which is coming soon, and you don't have much time to make up for it. Pit stop may be more important here than anyone else. Matt.
Nick Dale Jarrett, the pole sitter, currently runs in the second position, back on lap 8. He reported to his crew chief, Todd Parrott, his car was tight. About 5 laps ago, he said, Todd, the car is getting tighter and tighter. So they're talking about what adjustments to make on their first stop, which is coming up soon. Meanwhile, Kurt Busch back in 5th. The 97 car, he was loose earlier in the run, but now it has gone to the tight side. I spoke to the car chief, Sean Parker. He says right now, he and crew chief Jimmy Fitting are throwing around the possibility of just an air pressure adjustment. Look for the 97 car to hit their first stop around lap 48.
That's about 8 laps from now, Matt. Singular Wireless customers can participate in our virtual crew chief feature from their phones by sending the word Fox as a text message to number 171.
And Mike and Larry, you know, this pit road is agonizingly long, particularly under green flag stops. But the key to a good stop here is getting off the racetrack. The turns are so big, and you can carry so much speed to the end of pit road, and you're actually on pit road before you get to the line to where the pit road speed starts. So the guy that can get it there and get it wound up is the cat that's going to have the best overall pit stop.
See that orange cone on the left of the screen? That's where the pit road speed starts as Bill Elliott whips by. Elliott is about to lead his 1,000th lap at Michigan International Speedway.
It's like deja vu for me. I've come here when Bill Elliott led every lap of every race that we had here for a long time.
Let's just look at the telemetry on Bill Elliott. There you see is about 2 1/4 seconds behind our leader. This is what he's actually over the second place car of Dale Jarrett. This is going down the backstretch, climbing 189, 193, 196 miles per hour, and that's on the backstretch, and it's much shorter than the front stretch.
Yeah, he should hit over 200 mile an hour down into turn 1.
Steve Burns.
Johnny Benson on pit road to get 4 tires. They're a little bit concerned that the engine is running hot, Mike Joy. 4 tires for the 10 car of Johnny Benson. 14-second flat.
Johnny started 30th. He had climbed up into the top dozen before making that stop.
And Larry, you know that sometime when you're starting way back like that, you're going to give your driver every advantage you can. You're going to run that little bit of extra tape. You're going to take a few chances early on to get him up through traffic.
I mean, that's a good pit stop for Bobby Hamilton, 55-13-6, but absolutely, tape means so much here. We talk about it week in and week out. It's free lunch at Aero. Reduces the drag on these long straightaways, but helps plant the nose of that car so you're going to run every ounce you can.
Well, it's feeding time. Steve Grissom is in, and so is Jeremy Mayfield. And here comes Johnson, the third-place car. Does this seem a little early?
Well, again, if you cannot go 50 laps, you don't want to stretch it. They didn't get that good of a mileage read yesterday, so you want to play it safe.
Yeah, you can't take a chance at this point of the race.
Dick Bertrand.
Jimmy Johnson, 55 miles an hour down pit road. That is the speed limit. His crew is calling him in. Up front, a replacement. Jay Lupo, 27 years old, replacing Jason Gay, who is still in Kentucky, working the Sirius race this afternoon. It'll be a 4-tire change for Johnson. Rears are Scott Punch, Ryan Young, age 24. He's doing the front tires. A little bit slow in the rear. 15-6.
Joe Nemechek is in. Brett Bodine, Jeff Burton making their stops.
Comes to 24 down.
And you would believe that his teammate Jimmy Johnson was just on it. He wouldn't be far behind.
But you know, Larry, I tell you what, they've gone 45 laps on this first fuel run, and they're being conservative, I'm sure. That tells me that these guys are going to be able to stretch it and get into that pit window they want to get into.
Ward Burton, John Andretti in. Here's Dick.
Jeff Gordon is the defending champion of this race. He won it last year, but not in this car. Jimmy Johnson is driving the car Gordon won the race with last year. Gordon has got his entire pit crew, which is more than a lot of the teams can say for their situation today. 4-tire change for Gordon. This is one of the better pit crews. He is gone.
Kevin Harvick, Jeffrey Bodine, Gary Bradbury making stops. Stacy Compton. Here is Ricky Craven, who gives up a top 3 spot.
pretty much 46 laps into this race. Time to make adjustments on these cars. All these are going to be 4-tire stops. Steve Burns.
Larry Mack, Ricky Craven told his crew chief Mike Bean, give me a little help on the exit of 2 and 4. Otherwise, the car's okay. Bill Elliott slows on the track.
Bill Elliott, the race leader, is he out of fuel?
It has all the look that he may be out of fuel. We have to remember the Dodges have not been getting that good of fuel mileage. Maybe they stretched it just a little bit too far.
Yeah, I guarantee he's out of fuel.
Earnhardt Jr. is in. He's got plenty of fuel in his car. Right side tires already around. On the way to the left side, gas man is Jeff Clark, 6'5", 250 pounds. He's going to pack that tank as tight as he can. Earnhardt's gone. Tony
Stewart, Dale Jarrett, Kurt Busch, Kenny Schrader, Terry Labonte, Ryan Newman, Ricky Rudd all on pit road. And here comes Bill Elliott. Matt.
And Bill Elliott makes his way slowly down pit road. He was talking to his crew chief, Mike Ford. They really didn't want to make any changes. They made a chassis adjustment. Meanwhile, on the pole-sitting car of Dale Jarrett, remember, his car was tight. As they come around to the left side of Bill Elliott's car, he revs the engine. They are packing that fuel cell full of fuel. And he is now finally down and away.
Rusty Wallace, Jason Small, Mark Martin, Jeff Green, Mike Skinner, Sterling Marlin.
Let me tell you a smart thing that Bill Elliott did then. He cut the engine off and coasted. And when he got around here to the pit road, he fired it back up so he could get into his pit box.
And also so he could tell pit road speed.
So he could see pit road speeds. But he was coasting over there and fired it back up when he got on pit road.
Steve.
Michael Waltrip on pit road. He says his car is just a little tight. They'll make a slight air pressure adjustment. Chris Crumley on the front tires. Greg Osborne changes the rear tires. Michael Waltrip likes the car, and his service is done.
Dave Blaney, Bobby Labonte, Matt Kenseth in. So is Jimmy Spencer, and Michael Waltrip is the leader.
And I'm not surprised. Elliott Sadler in the 21 car would see it week in and week out. They stretch that fuel mileage as far as anybody. We're coming to lap 49, and it looks like he's coming to pit road this time, but that tells me he can do it on 2 more stops.
So if this thing stays green, I tell you, that is a huge advantage.
Casey Atwood, Kyle Petty in as well. There's Blaney going out, and Labonte. And Spencer.
I've lost this race because I didn't get good fuel mileage. I've won it because I did get good fuel mileage. So fuel mileage here is always a determining factor who wins.
And the pit stop started on about lap 43. They're ending here about 48. A 5-lap window. Dick Burton.
Glenn Wood is Elliott Sadler's motorman. He told me this morning that indeed they expected to get as good, if not better, fuel mileage than anybody else here. Asked why, Wood said he didn't know. Driver, car, engine, perhaps it is the combination. Sadler picked out of the lead, a good stop for 4 tires and fuel, and he's out of here.
You know why he gets good fuel mileage? One guy, and you would never believe this, Leonard Wood. Leonard Wood is tuned on that 21 car for 50 years, I guess, and always was great with carburetors. Back when we had the restricted engines Pearson drove for him, Leonard Wood was the best guy on carburetors I ever saw.
And David Pearson was one of the best there ever was, especially right here at this racetrack in the Wood Brothers car. 50 laps are complete. Welcome back to Michigan, where 54 laps are complete. Dale Jarrett has gone back to the lead over Jimmy Johnson and Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch. And there is Leonard Wood. David Pearson won 9 races here and 10 pole positions for the Woods.
And every team needs a Leonard Wood. We talk about young guns, but that guy right there, one of the sharpest crew chiefs that ever has been in racing. And let me tell you, everything was fine if he didn't call you a scoundrel. If he ever come up and called you a scandal, you knew you was in big trouble.
Or he liked you. He really liked you. Let's talk about the pit stops now. There really wasn't a lot of strategy. Everybody pretty much changed 4 tires. But look at Bill Elliott. What this lap time is here, remember that's 2 laps, including the pit stop. Well, remember, he ran out of fuel. He was coasting. But look at Johnny Benson. Those guys, good pit stop, and they went from 12th to 7th. Jeff Gordon, he went from 7th to 5th, and Dale Jarrett maintained the lead. And look, Dale Jarrett, Johnny Benson did a better job even than Jeff Gordon getting on and off pit road.
So critical. Huge here. Doesn't surprise me that Jimmy Johnson, we keep talking about this guy. Some of these places he's raced at, some of them he hadn't. And some of these places where he hadn't, he just struggles a little bit getting on the pit road because he's been a little cautious. And he should be.
Well, just remember, pit road is probably what cost him the race back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, sliding through his pits a few weeks ago.
32 cars on the lead lap. We've run 56 laps, all of them green. 6 different drivers have led the race. 2 of them through the pit stop sequencing, but 4 through changes on the racetrack.
And this sport, it's a classic monkey see, monkey do sport, I'm telling you. And everybody watches that 17 car. How come is he so fast? They break it down piece by piece. Part of the equation is how he gets in and out of the pits.
What's neat, Darrell, is not only does each team videotape their own pit stops, we've seen cameras around videotaping, for example, the 17 team stops, so other teams can study what they're doing.
When you're getting beaten on the track or you're getting beaten in the pits, you got to take a look at it and see what you can do to correct it.
Robbie Reiser's crew, right now, arguably best in the business.
You know, a guy that didn't qualify well, they didn't run that well at all on Friday. He started back in 26. Ricky Rudd in that 28 car. He's up to 8th. Not a bit surprised. A similar racetrack about 2 months ago at Fontana, he qualified in provisional land, 37th. He even snuck up on us and came up there to finish 3rd.
Yeah,
that's moving forward.
That was the race that really got him riled up because at the end of the day, he was 3rd. But he started so far back that we didn't realize it until the race was over with almost. And so he said we were ignoring some of the veterans, but we don't ignore the veterans. I tell you, I'm up here to see to that.
He David Pearsoned him in California.
He
just
did.
kind of snuck right up there, and at the end of the race, there he is.
The classic. I love it. It's the best way to race. It's all at the end of the day say, where'd he come from?
Now, I'll get a phone call from Pearson because he always wants to remind me, I led a lot too. And he did. He did. He didn't always sneak up on him, but he was foxy.
105 wins.
Down here, 1 and 2, pretty good, 3 and 4.
10-4, bud. You're up to 5th. You're doing a tremendous job with Lady Pepper.
I love that. Driver encouragement. You're doing a great job, buddy. Even Jeff Gordon needs it.
Coach and cheerleader.
But I tell you, Darrell, this place, we talk about this a lot, it's such a compromise. You'll be working good in one end, and all of a sudden you'll be off a little bit in the other end. But what you have to pay attention to is that stopwatch. How fast are you running versus the leaders? But this place, and we've heard a lot of people talk about being loose. You can't run this racetrack loose. You carry so much speed in the corner, if you're loose in, it throws the whole corner off.
Yeah, 32's coming on pit road, I do believe. What's happening, Burns?
DW just heard Ricky Craven tell Mike Beam and the crew that he has a flat tire. He is running inside the top 5, flat tire for Ricky Craven.
The right rear tire's down.
You can see him trying to wiggle it.
Yeah.
He's trying to make sure he tells them which tire is flat.
Yeah, he right rear.
He was the 3rd place car when this happened, so he might get back out without losing a lap.
Yeah, very optimistic that they'd have a good run here today. Things like this, that's what makes racing so darn hard to figure out.
Well, they're going to change all 4, and Darrell, that'll make it tough to stay on the lead.
Well, but it puts him out of sync with everybody else, so maybe it's not good. Try to take something bad, turn into something good.
Dale Jarrett with a 1.2-second lead, being chased by Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon, and Ryan Newman.
These tire changers are so good now that they can put 4 tires on while they're just putting gas in it.
The wind's been blowing here a lot. You saw the front of Mike Skinner, the 4 car. We see plastic and trash all over the front end, and we're hearing reports that he's running hot. Plus, also, we talked about tape on the front end. That changes the handling characteristics of the car. It'll make it turn and run fast, but it makes it run warm.
Look what he did. He run up behind Michael, took the air off the nose, and everybody that paper blew off of it.
The way we talked yesterday in final practice about how the air attaches and detaches from the hood, well, whatever stuck to that car is going to attach and detach too.
Well, and that shows you what makes the draft. That's the draft. There's no air on the front of the car, so it's going to run faster when you take that off of it. It's also going to get rid of all that debris that he picked up.
There goes a tear-off. And there it stays.
There it is, right to Mike Skinner's front end. Again, these are Lexan or plastic windshields, and they put 2 or 3 tear-offs. That way, as they get sandblasted, greasy and oily, they just rip one off under pit stop.
Or while you're out there. Sometimes, inadvertently. 63 laps to go. Dale Jarrett with a 1.8-second lead.
welcomes you back to the Sirius Satellite Radio 400. And log on to foxsports.com. Keyword leader for your shot at collectible gear from your favorite driver. Brought to you by Lotriman Ultra. Again, log on to foxsports.com. With Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers in the Hollywood Hotel. And Dale Jarrett, the oldest winner this season at the age of 45. He's twice won back-to-back races. And currently your leader, Jimmy Johnson, right now, up to the moment, point-wise, is only 48 points away from Sterling Marlin. If you figure where they are in the race, Marlin back of the pack at the moment.
Well, it's still a long ways to go, but it's still a great run by Jimmy Johnson, who, as we talked about and documented early on, that's the same car he won with in California. Michigan's a lot like this racetrack, so these guys haven't lost anything.
Ricky Rudd up to 7th. He started 26th, and in the last 2 weeks, of course, he led in Pocono, but a blown tire, and then in Dover, he had a pit stop and some problems there that created a problem. So for Rudd, actually, he's led the last 4 races, but only has one top 15 finish in those races.
They just can't get a break right now. They've had a great run going, and we see Dale Jarrett right there leading the race, and I really believe he's kind of helped get that part of that Robert Yates team back on track. Ricky and the crew chief Michael McSwain, Fatback we like to call him, they've been doing an outstanding job, and Ricky Rudd has just been basically snake bit. If he'd get any kind of luck at all, he'd already gotten victory lane.
He won here in 93 at Michigan, and quickly Johnny Benson, you touched on him before, all the way now up to 5th from 30th, I believe.
Outstanding run right now by the Valvoline car, starting back in 30th position and worked their way up to 5th place, and just doing a really good job. And we talked a little bit about our point leader right there, and it is Sterling Marlin. Those guys continue to struggle, but for some reason that team has normally had the ability to come in and make adjustments to their race car and get him back in the hunt before the end of the day. So he's really, don't count him out. He's got a long ways to go.
Marlin battling Jeff Green for that 25th spot, and Marlin has it at the moment. Let's go back upstairs, rejoin Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Jordan.
And testament to that, Chris, is that Sterling has finished on the lead lap in all but one race this year and only missed one lap Bristol. Let's talk about the last group of young guns. We know who these guys are, but how about when Dale Jarrett, our race leader, was a young gun? Jarrett, when he won his first race, he was in his 30s. Terry Labonte won at age 23. Kyle Petty at 25. All these fellas were young guns. Darrell was 28 when he got his first win. They were the young guns. Some other fellas that are veterans now had to wait a while. Mark Martin won at age 30. Schrader, 33. Dale Jarrett was 34 before he got the first win. Marlin and Spencer were even older.
Well, I think one of the statistics that jumps out at me, Larry, is that one I gave a little earlier. In 1996, here at Michigan, and this is just one racetrack, the average winner came from starting in the top 8. So that tells me there was probably 10 good teams. In the year 2002, the winners are coming from 15th, the top 15. So I think we got twice as many good race cars as we had just 10 years ago.
And I've said this a lot this week, also in those guys' defense. When they came along and was in their rookie season, they were either driving for a brand new race team or a team that was not that competitive. They weren't able to step into a Roger Penske car or a Rick Hendrick car. So they had to go through some growing pains with the race teams they were driving for.
Yeah, there were no 2 and 3 car teams then. Only Petty's had a 2 or 3 car team back in those days. The rest of us were lucky to have one race car, period.
Our points leader, Sterling Marlin, Darrell, is in danger of going a lap down. We've been caution-free through 72 laps.
I mean, this is the man that won the race here in August, gave Dodge their first win after their comeback, and here on lap 72, he's about to go a lap down.
Well, I tell you, this team has surprised me here lately. They just really haven't been running all that well. Even though they finished well last week at Pocono, they had some great pit strategy and allowed that to happen. But they look like they've been struggling here lately.
73 complete. Dale Jarrett, the leader. Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, and Jeff Gordon running fourth. Dick Bergman.
That's the good part of the story. Jeff Gordon, who started 24th, has passed 20 cars. He is running fourth. But Mike, just after the first pit stop that he took, Gordon got on the radio and told his crew the car was way loose. We looked up and there was full bright sun over this whole racetrack. Then a few laps later, he called back on the radio and said, this thing has really gotten tight. We looked up, there were dark, heavy clouds over the racetrack. A few laps later, he called into the crew and said, hey, this car is pretty good. We looked up, it was a mixture of sun and clouds. Apparently, the weather, the overcast, the sun, and so forth is really affecting Jeff Gordon's car. To Steve Burns.
Well, Dick, Tony Stewart is not happy with his race car at all. He's tight spring rubber out of the right rear spring. Stewart started 10th, currently 18th.
I mean, this racetrack is definitely a weather-sensitive racetrack, and you can have your car sitting up there to the point where it's maybe more weather-sensitive or temperature-sensitive than someone else's race car.
It always seemed to be like when my car was really, really good, nothing made it mad. You know, what tires, what weather, or anything. But when it was on that edge, like Larry's talking about, all it took was just a weather change or a small adjustment in the pits, and it would tip it over the edge, and you couldn't drive it anymore. And Jeff Gordon seems to float. He seems to flirt with that edge. He's either really, really good or something makes the car go off.
A look here at the beer can battle. Rusty Wallace out of Dale Earnhardt Jr., 12th and 13th. Now these cars are running about 23 seconds behind the leader.
About a half a lap. Yeah.
And we're about 8 laps away from the green flag pit window opening once again. We'll be back for pit stops. Jarrett and Bill Elliott have each led 31 laps, but Elliott apparently ran out of gas on his first fuel run, so he's got some ground to make up here.
But he knows how far he can go now.
Darrell, Mike, Larry, the guys, I've been watching the leader, Dale Jarrett, since the start of the race and kind of watching his lap times. The adjustments they made on that first stop have allowed him to pick up the pace almost a full 10 this late in the run, along with Jimmy Johnson, who I watched also make a track bar adjustment to free his car up a little bit. Both those cars are running faster in this second run of stops, you might say, than they were at the start of this race. And it's really giving a lot of the guys the fit. They're putting a lot of guys a lap down because they've made their cars so much better this close to halfway.
How's your car feel, bud? A little loose into 3, but I'm good with that. Tied off at 2 right now. Starting to get tied off of, what's the 4, I guess. You're keeping pace with him, Jimmy. That's good, bud.
I love rookies. That turn, you know, that one down here on this end, which one's that, 4?
The one by the big grand.
Yeah, with all the people in it.
Last week at Pocono, it could have been 3, 4, or 6, depending on how you count them. So
it could be a little confusing.
But I tell you, Chad Canals, he has to be smart in what Jimmy's telling him there, because what he's saying, the car won't turn on the exit of either end, but the key thing is I'm a little free in, so you just have to be careful you don't free it up too much to help the exit and get you loose in. You can't drive a race car here loose in.
Oh, man, I'd scream louder about that than anything. I don't want to go down there at 200 mile an hour and have to turn to the right.
6th place race here. Ricky Rudd creeping up, trying to take 6th from Johnny Benson.
You think Rudd qualifies way back just to kind of so nobody notices him slipping up through the field?
Well, what it does, though, Darrell, I mean, it bites him at a place like this where you have these long green flag runs, because right now he has a fast race car. He's not as fast as his teammate, Dale Jarrett, but he's almost a half a lap down. You just can't get there even over the course of 400 miles.
All clear.
Well, Darrell, he's tried to win every other way the last few weeks and keeps getting snake bit, so maybe it's a new strategy. All right, we're getting into the green flag pit stop window. Jeremy Mayfield's already been in for an update on his teammate. Here's Matt.
Well, Mike, Bill Elliott continues to soldier his way back up the scoring pylon, currently in the 11th position, but 25 and a half seconds behind leader Dale Jarrett. His crew chief, Mike Ford, told Bill a few laps ago that the tire temps and the tires they took off in their first stop showed they were a little bit on the tight side, so they're going to possibly make a wedge adjustment on their next stop. But remember, this is a very important race for all the race teams, but especially the manufacturer. This is their playground. Just in the shadows of Detroit, a lot of bragging rights go on. Dieter Zetche sitting on top of Bill Elliott's pit box. He is the president and CEO of Daimler Chrysler. They won here in August. They'd love to win back-to-back wins. Have a lot of bragging rights when they go back to Motown on Monday. This is like for the race teams in Charlotte at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. The win there is huge for their family and friends, but the win here in the shadows of Detroit, it's big for all the manufacturers. I'm sure Dieter would love back-to-back wins.
Here's the thing about it. If you're a half a lap or more behind right now, you're in a lot. You got a lot of pressure on you down there in the pit box right now, don't you, Larry?
You can't stand any more mistakes.
Well, and you got to decide. I could take 2 tires and stay on the lead lap. Now, do I do that and take a chance there's going to be a caution, which we haven't seen one yet, or do I bite the bullet and take 4?
And the drivers who have to make that decision, Darrell, from 10th on back: Bill Elliott, Ward Burton, Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin, Earnhardt Jr., Andretti, Dave Blaney, Kenny Schrader, Tony Stewart, and Kyle Petty. Those are the drivers that are more than half a lap, but less than a full lap behind.
I tell you, these two here, they've been battling for about 3 or 4 laps. Johnny Benson in the 10, Michael Waltrip in the 15. This is a battle for 7th. It's been going lap after lap. We need to note Jeremy Mayfield talked about making his green flag stop. He'd actually been on pit road twice, so they have some sort of problem with that race car.
Matt Kenseth up there in the midst of this 7th place battle.
Well, he's got his car right on the bottom.
Matt started back in 20th, so we've been watching the monitor. He's had one of the top 3 or 4 fastest cars.
And you can see what happens. On the bottom down there, you can beat a guy through the turn, but the guy on the outside running up high comes off that corner with a lot of momentum. He's got that great straightaway speed. It's hard to make that pass. Whoa. I love overhead shots. Look at that.
I mean, Michael was behind these 2 guys about a half a lap, 3/4 of a lap ago. Now he's in front of these guys, actually pulling away a little bit.
I think what happened was that the 10 car's getting ready to pit. And so he threw his hand up over there, and it confused him a little bit.
There he goes. He's on pit road. Bobby Hamilton in the 55 car. Joe Nemechek in the 25 car was just on pit road as well.
But Benson is the first of our top 10 drivers to come to pit road. 2 or 4? That's the question.
Steve, believe you have to change 4, Steve Burns.
Johnny Benson told crew chief James Ince he had a good race car. He said, free me up just a little bit. So take a little bit of wedge out. Half a turn out of the left rear and a half a pound of air pressure for Johnny Benson. Joe Payette changing the rear tires. Johnny Benson's away.
All right, look, you saw the pit stop right there. I think that's the key reason you want to change 4. These guys are changing 4 tires almost quicker than you can dump these 22 gallons of fuel. So the 4 tires is almost free because you can't leave pit road here under green flag without being full of fuel.
Yeah, it takes 11 seconds to dump both cans. It takes 14 seconds to change 4 tires if your crew is on. That's the thing you got to be sure of. They got to be on.
John Andretti has made his pit stop, and here comes Jimmy Johnson. Johnson, the 2nd place car, 2.5 seconds behind Dale Jarrett as he comes to pit road.
And that crowd may be rookies, but they don't think like rookies. They're not going to run him out of gas because he's got a great race car. They're going to get down there at the end and then gamble. Don't gamble now.
Pit road just goes on forever. 55 miles per hour. Dick Berger, how about the 48 car?
Well, we all heard Jimmy Johnson tell his crew and then us that he was a little bit tight on too. After that, there were several conversations between Johnson and his crew chief, Chad Knaus, about what to do about it. They really didn't want to change this car very much because the car is running so very well. So the only adjustments, modest air pressure to the left side tire. Slow up front, clean in the grill, Johnson's gone.
But you know, Dick, I also saw him take a little bit of wedge out of the right rear, and how you take wedge out of the right rear, you screw down on that jack bolt, that also raises the right rear corner. So they could actually fix both problems. Taking wedge out will free it off the corner. You raise the right rear corner of the spoiler up, that will help you get in the corner and not be as loose.
Steve Grissom, Brett Bodine making stops. We've been green flag all the way, 91 laps complete, 9 laps to halfway.
These are all scheduled green flag stops we'll be seeing in the next few laps. And now the teams in that first run, they know how much fuel they used. So you'll probably see teams go a little bit further this second run.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what we said about Bill. He knows exactly how far he can go.
But you have to be careful. You have to watch your lap times. If you're faster, you're using more fuel. If your car is pushing and not turning, the car's bound up, you're going to use more fuel. So you have to pay close attention to those things.
And these things burp about one time. You're going down the front straightaway here, and that thing starts to skip a little bit. You better get it on pit road.
Ward Burton is there. Steve Burns.
And Mike, 4 tire change for Ward Burton. They'll make a chassis adjustment in the left rear of that 22 Dodge of Ward Burton. Rodney Fetters, the jack man with a big pump, left side
the fourth-place car. Comes to the pit lane, Stacy Compton as well.
Just about like the first green flag stop. He was about 2 laps behind Jimmy Johnson, so everything's on schedule here.
Right over here, 4 tires, bud, 4 tires.
It'll be a 4-tire change for Jeff Gordon, who has not won a Winston Cup race in 22 starts. The most difficult thing that they are facing as they make a wedge adjustment in the car, the most difficult thing that they are facing here is the sensitivity of the car to the weather. Because you can't tell. Are you going to get clouds? You're going to get sun? What are you going to get? They just did that one round and Gordon's gone.
2 of the Childress cars, Kevin Harvick and Robbie Gordon are in.
And you know, we make a big deal, seems like, every week about, oh, Jeff had won in 22 races. Seems to be bothering everybody but him. But what he's watching is how he's slowly climbing up that point ladder.
Bill Elliott in the 9 car, they are on pit road this time and the motor is running, so he knew how far he could run. Matt Yoakum.
Well, Larry Mack on their first stop, they actually planned to go to lap 47, but the car coughed as they came around to complete lap 46. So they were a little bit shy of their expectations. They're going to make a chassis adjustment on this stop. Remember, on their first stop, his car was a little bit loose on entry and loose up, but they didn't make any adjustments on the 9 car. A little bit of trouble on the left rear to Dick Berger.
Well, fan favorite Dale Earnhardt Jr. is on pit road. They've got their hands full with this automobile. On lap 76, he called to the crew and said there is simply no grip all the way around. They're going to try to put some bite in this car. Both track bar and wedge are being adjusted to try and hook it up a little bit. Slow on the left rear. That'll cost him.
Steve Park, Kenny Schrader, Tony Stewart, Mike Skinner in. Terry Labonte coasted in.
Yeah, he was out of fuel. He came coasting around the 3rd, 4th turn down there. Boy, Dale Jr. had a terrible pit stop. Left rear guy was having a tough time getting the tire on.
Bobby Labonte in. Here's his teammate Tony Stewart getting 4 tires. Jeffrey Bodine comes in as well. And caution is out. John Andretti has hit the wall, and that brings out the caution right in the midst of green flag pit stops.
I mean, we had so many cars that was so far behind the leader, all those that made green flag stops, they're definitely going to be a lap down.
Here comes Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's trying to get around our leader. I think he's going to make it. Yes, he did.
To stay on the lead lap.
To get back on the lead lap. Yeah. Boy, that's the worst time in the world to have a caution flag.
And Jimmy Johnson's 11th, so right now with that caution burning right in the middle of these green flag stops, we have 11 cars on the lead lap.
There is the reason for the caution. As John Andretti got up and into the wall.
Well, he got up there. Looks like he got some a little bit of right side damage.
Now, Darrell, the real problem, what we have to remember, other than Jimmy Johnson, those other 10 cars, they're sitting out there almost out of fuel. In fact, Jeff Burton just came to pit road in the 99 to get a shot of fuel because these guys were needing to pit.
Yep.
And what you have to be careful is get down off that banking because remember, the fuel pickup is in the right rear and the fuel's going to run away from the pickup. You'll be running fine on the green, run out on the caution.
Yeah, this caution couldn't have come at a worse time. I mean, it just...
For half of those drivers.
It just turns everything upside down.
And Larry, you'll come in with the picture closed and take that penalty.
Well, look at Dale Jarrett. He's trying to stay as low on the racetrack as he can because he was getting ready to come to pit road.
Now, Dale Jr., if he hadn't had that bad pit stop, he lost a lot of time in pit. He would be ahead of Jarrett, but because of the slow stop, he's behind.
Pit road will be open this time.
And that's a good thing for these guys, trust me.
Now, you're going to have a lot of good cars up at the front of the field right now that when they restart this thing, the leader's probably going to be back in traffic pretty far.
11 cars are now on the lead lap. That includes Jimmy Johnson, and I wonder, will he pit again?
Here you see the Fox tracks. That lets you see where the leaders coming down pit road will peel off to their pits.
Oh, Jimmy Johnson will. He'll come down. He'll top up, if nothing else.
Matt?
And Dale Jarrett pulls in for his second scheduled stop. Jeff Knight indexes the right rear tire. Dale Jarrett says his car is nearly perfect. They're not going to make any adjustments on the 88. Meanwhile, the 97 car, just like on the first run, started out loose. It's gone tight today.
Well, Ryan Lewin got lucky on that one. He was just about to come in for his pit stop when the caution waved. They've taken a rounded wedge out of the right rear and a nice pit stop for Ryan Newman's guys.
Well, the cycling of pit stops will hurt. Sterling Marlin, Johnny Benson, Jeff Gordon, they're all a lap down. So is Ricky Craven, Hut Strickland, and Bill Elliott.
And I tell you what, if we run enough caution laps here, Darrell, I'm going to probably bring you in and top you off because we're almost to that point where we can make this race on one more stop.
And just think, if these guys could have run a couple more laps, they wouldn't be a lap down. Fuel mileage.
Bobby Labonte, the Burton brothers, Tony Stewart, John Andretti. They're all a lap down. Here's John Andretti. Brushing the wall to bring out the first caution of the day. 98 laps, 2 laps to halfway.
Welcome back to the Sirius Satellite Radio 400. Today's halfway recap brought to you by Coors Light as we have gone through 100 laps, and the pole sitter Dale Jarrett, who won last week, trying to win back-to-back races. He has led the most laps thus far. We are under our first caution, and Dale Jarrett, father of 4 on Father's Day. Of course, his first ever Winston Cup victory came here at Michigan. From the Hollywood Hotel, along with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, nice to have you with us. And we are on the fastest race, or at least the average speed, just over 170 miles per hour, on pace for that. So far, Talladega at 159 miles per hour, the fastest so far. But this caution really almost makes this a second race and cuts about half the field out.
It really does. It's put everything kind of like in a different type of mode here. We've got guys that are going to be on the tail end of the lead lap trying to stay in front of the leader. So it's going to really get interesting here as we go to the second half of the race. As they say, Larry McReynolds has already brought it out. For a lot of these teams, if they can come down and top off, they would only have to make one more stop if it goes green. So it's going to get kind of dicey here in the next few laps.
All right, does that make a guy like Dale Jarrett, who it seems like has found his groove with his team, tough to beat at this point, even though we still have 100 laps?
Well, it really does, but he's got to be careful going back through some of this lap traffic, and guys, he's got to race.
All right, John Andretti scraping the wall. We're under caution. They're getting ready to restart here, and we'll be right back at the Michigan International Speedway on Fox.
When the caution came out for John Andretti into the wall, 11 cars were on the lead lap, but 4 more on the tail end of the lead lap in front of our leader. Jeff Gordon, Bill Elliott, Ward Burton, and Tony Stewart are in front of Dale Jarrett. You see Jarrett on Fox tracks as we get set for the restart.
Bringing it down to about 65 miles an hour. Need to note that Mark Martin, one of our cars on the lead lap, came in and topped off with 98 laps to go.
Well, now's when we need a really quick caution for debris, because that tells everybody back up.
Get ready. Go, 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 go.
Green flag. Let's crank it up for you on this restart. On the tail end of the lead lap in front of Dale Jarrett. Darrell, how hard do you want to race those 4 guys right now that are trying desperately to stay on the lead lap?
You don't race cars that can't beat you. And right now, that's what he's doing. He's not worried about those guys. Let them get back on the lead lap, then I'll worry about them. But right now, I ain't worried about them.
Let's get a pit stop update. Dick Berggren.
Well, Ryan Newman's got a couple of problems going, Mike. They think there's a possibility that some of the sheet metal on the right-hand side of the car may be coming loose. And this, a little bit of a wheel weight that they found on pit road after that pit stop. Now, Ryan hasn't said anything about a vibration, which would be the case if this wheel weight came off one of the tires that's on the car. But he's been a little bit busy out there. He's in very heavy traffic. To Steve Burns.
Well, Dick, with Slugger, Labby, crew chief on the 15 car. Slugger, we heard Michael say on the radio that the car was a little bit tight. How did you adjust it on that stop?
Right now, we're doing pretty good. After the first run, we were real tight. We made some adjustments, and we got it really good. So we just pitted that time, got 4 tires, and made no adjustments. Napa Chevrolet's running real good. We got a little bit behind on track position because we stayed out trying to do the fuel mileage thing. And now we got the track position. See if we can't hang with them.
Let's go to Matt Yoakum.
Well, Steve Burns, Kurt Busch is totally having a reversal of fortunes in his first 2 starts here at MIS. He finished 43rd in both starts. Today, currently running in the 2nd position. His first 2 runs have mirrored each other. First in at lap 47, he started out loose and went tight. His last stop on lap 98 started out loose and went tight. But those extra 4 laps that he went on his 2nd run evidently really saved him, because he would have been caught possibly with that caution, would have lost a lap. They made a chassis adjustment and air pressure adjustment on this run, seeing they helped that race car. To Steve Burns.
Matt Kenseth having a good run. On the last stop, the car was loose, but the track tightened up. On this most recent stop, they took a half pound out of the right rear tire on that 17 car.
Thanks, Steve Kenseth is right now 6th behind Jimmy Johnson.
And like we see most every week, Larry, these guys get back in traffic and they have a hard time making the passes. They pick up that arrow push that they complain about, and it's really, really bad at this racetrack in traffic.
And if your car is tight, the handling characteristics, the chassis starts getting tight, it's just magnified. And remember, this is the first time these cars have been bunched up since the beginning of the race. First caution.
The best battle on the racetrack has been among 3 drivers at the front of the pack trying to stay on the lead lap. Gordon has Earnhardt Jr. right on the outside and Benson underneath.
Whoa, look at Dale Jr. He was twitching off of that corner.
Now, what we have to remember, Jeff Gordon and Johnny Benson and the team, they're fighting to stay on the lead lap, but Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's just trying to stay 1 lap down from that bad pit stop. Jeff Hammond.
Larry, one of the things I was noticing on the first couple laps after going back green, those 3 guys that lined up and were using the draft to try to pull away from the rest of the field, now everybody's gotten real impatient and went back to racing and kind of all of a sudden brought everybody back into the scene. These guys need to settle back down if they want to stay on the lead lap. They need to work together to try to stay in front of the lead with Dale Jarrett.
Add to that group Ward Burton and Bill Elliott. They are also on the tail end of the lead lap. In fact, Burton is right in front of race leader Dale Jarrett. For more on Jarrett, here's Matt.
Well, Mike, you were documenting the race back to the caution, and you saw Jimmy Johnson get his lap back. It was not a major favor from Dale Jarrett. What it really turned out to be was some miscommunication. His spotter, David Green, was letting him know that the 48 was making a move to get his lap back. The radio cut out. DJ thought that David said the 28, so he was trying to help out his teammate, Ricky Rudd. In essence, he helped out the 48.
Ooh. Yeah, he did, because I saw Dale Jarrett pull down and give Jimmy Johnson the run to the line, which got him back on the lead lap. But that might not have been a good thing.
Speaking of runs, Kurt Busch in that 97 car, while Dale Jarrett's been back here fooling with Kevin Harvick in the 29, Ward Burton in the 22. Kurt Busch has caught Dale Jarrett.
Yeah, Dale Jarrett's kind of going to have to go now. Now he's got to go, because those people can beat him.
Gordon. He's got it side by side again, this time with Bill Elliott. Again, they are fighting to stay on the lead lap up in front of Dale Jarrett.
I'll tell you, that 77 car has been slowly, I've watched him on the monitor, Larry. He's been slowly moving himself up. He's in the top 10 now and having another great run.
Here we got a battle for the lead now. That's Kurt Busch in the 97, but Kevin Harvick, who's actually on the verge of going 2 laps down right here because he had already pitted, held up. Kurt Busch, in the meanwhile, Ryan Newman gets up there. This is a battle for second.
Now, one thing Dale Jarrett doesn't want to have to do is race with 2 young guns like that are going to be very impatient, and they don't care whether he's just watching that race in front of him or not. They're going to be going on.
Jarrett's about to get some help. Here comes his Yates Racing teammate Ricky Rudd in the 28. Going to put a little gray into that battle.
Here comes that blue Lowe's 48 too as well, right on the bottom of the racetrack. We got us a 5-car battle for the lead here.
Fox Tracks on teammates Jarrett and Rudd.
See the interval on Rudd to Dale Jarrett, the leader. It's kind of pretty much holding its own right now.
That's funny. Some drivers will talk about their teammate. Other drivers will talk about another driver who races a car out of the same shop. But he's not my teammate. 113 laps complete. Caution is out at lap 115. Debris in the back straightaway. Jeff Gordon could not get back on the lead lap, and the leaders are in the pits. Matt.
Mike Trower and the guys are already on the left side of the car. They hit the lugs. No adjustments for Dale Jarrett.
So 14 lead lap cars make their pit stops. Ward Burton, Mark Martin, Kyle Petty, Bill Elliott, Johnny Benson back on the lead lap now.
And we definitely saw some cars change 2 right side tires only because it had only been about 12 laps. But what we have to remember, probably the reason a lot of them come to pit road, this definitely puts them in the window to make it on one stop. But of our 14 cars on the lead lap, everybody pitted for something except for Kurt Busch, the 97 car.
Little strategy being played out.
Ford driver Jarrett did not let Gordon back to the lead lap, so after the caution car picked up Dale Jarrett, the race leader, this ensued.
That's you remember me? I'm still back here because you kept me back here.
But Darrell, you and I agree on one thing. Don't let anybody have a lap back. This is not about giving laps back.
You drive your, off to get people a lap down, then you slow down and let them back on the lead lap? I don't think so.
There is the debris that was on the back straightaway. It's a beverage bottle, and it was casting quite a gleam from the sun. Observers thought it was a piece of metal, might have been sharp, and they picked it up. Caution is out. Still working the second caution of the day. Here's today's track fact brought to you by KFC. Michigan International Speedway opened in 1968, and you can see how they've expanded the capacity since. Cale Yarborough won the first Cup race here in June 1969. David Pearson's won 9 times, and among active drivers, Bill Elliott has 7 victories. There's fast food, and then there's KFC. Our leader is Kurt Busch because he did not pit. Let's go to his pit and find out why.
Well, Mikey was talking on the radio about staying out if the 88 did or coming in when the 88 did, but your man decided to stay out. Why, Jimmy?
Well, we got a problem with our car don't come in for about 10 laps on tires, so we figured we'd just stay out. They're in, and the only thing we got to do is hope we don't get a yellow when we're in that window.
Green flag is out. Ryan Newman is second. Dale Jarrett third. Ricky Rudd, Jimmy Johnson, Michael Waltrip.
When we were in Dover, I saw Jimmy Finney in the casino over there, so I know he's a gambler, and that's what they're doing now. They're rolling the dice a little bit.
This is probably a good opportunity for Jeff Gordon to get his lap back because he's on 4 fresh tires. Kurt Busch is up there without fresh tires. Jeff Gordon will go into the second position, fighting to get up there and try to get that lap back.
Yeah, now's when you can have cautions because you got people that are trying to get back on the lead lap. You got people that are racing each other, so there's a lot going on right now. Everybody's on a little bit of different agenda right now.
His car is fast through the middle of the corner on the bottom of the racetrack with those 4 fresh tires.
Down this long and winding front straightaway, Jeff Gordon is going to get back on the lead lap with a little assist there from Ryan Newman.
And Ryan Newman's trying to take the lead of the race right here in the 12 car. Remember, he has 2 right side fresh tires. Dick Burton.
Well, it's an interesting strategy. You know, Ryan Newman's a degreed engineer, and just before he made that pit stop, he came on the radio and described the behavior of his car as just like Las Vegas. Remember what it was like in Las Vegas? And that was the stuff that they needed to make the adjustment on his car. How about that, Mike?
Oh, do you want it?
How about that? Wish I knew what it was like in Las Vegas.
But evidently he said something that made Matt Borland's a light go off in it. It's like, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it must be something that they didn't want to communicate over the radio. So it's whatever we did at Las Vegas, don't forget, let's do it again.
In other words, you're all welcome to listen in, but...
Yeah, but we're not going to tell you what we did till that's car in Las Vegas.
Well, what I saw right there, Ryan Newman was able to get back to the throttle, but he was on the bottom side coming off turn 2. Kurt Busch was on the high side, and he was able to win the drag race down the backstretch, but Ryan Newman drove it deeper in, just like Dale Jarrett.
Whoa, that's
3 distinct lines there.
See, that's what happened to you right there. When you go in that corner under somebody, you see how he started wiggling? You lose the front end just a little bit, and then the thing starts wiggling loose with you.
Elliott Sadler in the 21 car, he's a lap down as well. Jeff Gordon's loving what he's seeing back there because he's pulling away from these guys while they run side by side.
And Jimmy Johnson, who Dale Jarrett perhaps errantly let back on the lead lap 2 cautions ago, is now fighting him for second place.
Watch this 12 car. Here's what happens to you. You go into turn 3. You're down underneath the car, and when somebody comes under you like that, buddy, that thing will break loose with you, take off up the track. You just lose all your grip just momentarily. And And if you think about Ryan Newman, what have we seen about 2 or 3 times with that car going in the corner under people and the back end snaps out from under?
2 weeks ago coming off the corner with Steve Park, and last week going into the corner. Both with disastrous consequences.
It's like Ryan Newman's car works good on the bottom on the exit, but he just can't complete that pass down the next straightaway.
Just can't get up off the corner with enough steam to make it happen. And then again, Larry, you got to be so careful when you get down underneath people like that the thing doesn't snap loose with you.
And right now he has a guy behind him, Dale Jarrett's teammate Ricky Rudd in that 28 car, Steve Burns.
Well, Larry Mack, Ricky Rudd came on pit road fourth and left fourth. They made no adjustment to that 28 car. Ricky did say once he left pit road, he told Michael McSwain, the crew chief, he said I've been backing off the throttle just a little bit just to conserve the motor.
Ricky said earlier this weekend, you might as well laugh about the last couple of weeks because crying isn't going to help. He's done everything but win.
Well, I mean, yeah, what he's talking about conserving the motor on fresh tires, especially in the draft, you will turn a lot of RPMs. I mean, right now they're running within about 2 or 3 tenths of their fastest lap of the race. Once the pace slows down, you won't have to worry about those RPMs. We heard Jeff Hammond talk earlier. It says hanging RPMs. They get up there and just stay on these long straightaways.
Yeah, we got all these cars running here close together like this. It creates a whale of a draft down the straightaway. Hey, how about old Russell here? Russell's having a pretty good day.
Rusty Wallace up to 7th, just ahead of Matt Kenseth. In fact, right now, there are 8 Fords in the top 10.
And he's having a typical 2002 Rusty Wallace day. He started back in 25th, worked his way up to the top 10. This is the car he won with here a couple of years ago.
I believe one of the big reasons that Fords run particularly well here in California and other places is aero balance. They got a good balanced race car. And the other thing is they've been working really hard on their engine package to be able to turn these things 90, 200 and live. That's why we see them break every now and then. But I think they've about got every link in the chain fixed.
The only non-Fords in the top 10 right now are Jimmy Johnson in 4th and Michael Waltrip in 6th.
I mean, Dale Jarrett, he almost went from the top of the racetrack to the bottom on the exit. He was able to complete the pass on Ryan Newman. That's a sign of a good race.
Yeah, if you can carry enough speed through the center of the corner so you can drive up in front of that guy off the corner, then that's a good move.
7th place right here. Matt Kenseth trying to take it away from Rusty.
There's Kenseth right around the bottom. Rusty will let him slide up in front of him. That's a good move. Rusty probably let that happen because it slows them both down if he doesn't. Once a guy gets a position on you, the best thing to do is let him go and draft on him.
Meanwhile, this 24 car, Jeff Gordon, he's out there just hoping we might get another one of those debris cautions.
Right. You see Gordon out front. He is not the race leader. He's on the tail end of the lead lap as Kurt Busch leads Dale Jarrett and Jimmy Johnson.
Fox welcomes you back to the Sirius Satellite Radio 400, and Kurt Busch trying to become the racing American Idol. Just moments ago, Jimmy Johnson passing Dale Jarrett for 2nd place, and each of the manufacturers have led through the course of the days. You got to look at Jeff Gordon, of course, still looking for his first win this year, and the adjustments. There's only one Pontiac, of course, fewer Pontiacs entered here on the lead lap, and that being Johnny Benson. Has that spoiler changed helped much, in your opinion?
Well, Johnny's running awful well here right now, so you have to believe that this has been a good racetrack for him with the adjustments that NASCAR allowed Pontiac to have. It has probably helped this team a little bit. He got down a lap early, but he's now gotten back on the lead lap, so those are very good things for him. And still got a little ways to go yet, so he can still be a factor.
We've got 67 laps to go. We've had 7 leaders, 8 changes, only 2 cautions, and Michael Waltrip, who was a little bit annoyed about talk that he might not be back with the DEI next year, has moved up into 5th now.
Yeah, he's really been running well. That team is starting to come together. Qualified outside pole at Fontana, which is a racetrack very similar to Michigan. This team ran 10th, finished 10th that day. But as of late, at Charlotte, he got an 8th place finish, as well as last week at Pocono finished 8th. So these guys are starting to come together. Michael looks like he's got a very strong race car.
All right, Mike Joy.
Here are fellas who've gained points in the last 7 races, and Michael Waltrip and Dale Jarrett are the biggest examples of that.
They really are. And Larry, I think that's a pretty good indication. I know they called him on the carpet and said, look, bud, you're going to have to pick it up. And I think it's he got the message.
But in his defense, yeah, maybe he did. Maybe he has stepped it up, but they're giving him new race cars. The last 4 races, Charlotte, Dover, and Pocono, new race cars, the best aero package that they could give him.
Yeah, it really is. He told me the car at Charlotte was a brand new car, and he loved it the minute he sat down in it.
On the track, Jeff Gordon is right ahead of our race leader, Kurt Busch, and I'm surprised that they're not stopping, not taking on tires. Busch has been able to hold that lead.
Well, I'm not. This cat has done this 2 or 3 times. You know, California, he won Bristol by staying out on the set of tires. So he and Finney, they said the car is slow coming in, but once it comes in, it's great. Lay the tires on it and drive the wheels off of it.
Good point. Now, how about Jeff Gordon, who is trying to stay on the tail end of the lead lap? Let's go to his pit.
Well, Mike, a couple of laps ago, Gordon keyed his radio and asked his spotter to give him more information about the line that Kurt Busch is taking. Gordon's plan, make sure he knows exactly where the best line is that Busch can take so he can block it and stay on that lead lap no matter what.
Well, I don't know, Dick, but Gordon's car's good on new tires. He runs good for about 15 laps. Then he starts to backslide, and I don't think he can hold Kurt Busch up. I believe Kurt will pass him high or low, just whichever. He'll go the opposite way Jeff goes.
Well, also, Darrell and Dick, I think it's going to be hard for them to tell Jeff Gordon because Kurt Busch has been running 2 or 3 different lines. The last couple laps, he's been running a high line, but when he needs to, he can go to the bottom of the racetrack. But he is all the way against the wall in 3 and 4 on this lap.
Well, and that's that's probably a sign of those tires being a little worn. And he's got to use up the whole racetrack. Look at Gordon, look how he backs up. I noticed on the restarts, really good on 4 fresh tires, but then as he goes along, you can see there with that graphic, the car gets slower and slower.
But I tell you, a car that's not getting slower and slower, the one going right there, 48, he's catching the leader, Kurt Busch, right now.
Trouble down here, we got blown engine. I don't know if
no caution.
Yeah, we got a caution.
This is the break that Jeff Gordon will need now if he can beat Kurt Busch back to the line.
Boy, Busch is trying. He's going to try to put him a lap down. What's this?
Like you said, Darrell, race the cars that can beat you. Busch is doing it.
That's one of them. He tried to get a run on him going into 3. He can't make it. He's going to back off now. But he sure didn't want to give it to him.
These guys do not want me to get my lap back. Great job there, guys. Still 6 tight. Keep pulling that wedge down.
Watch that oil going down in the first turn there, guys.
It was Ward Burton who put out all that smoke down in turn number 1.
And Ward, got back on the lead lap. He was up in 13th spot. I watched him a little bit, and the car looked really, really fast. Just unfortunate for that team. Can't catch a break either.
Whew. He was definitely having one of his better weekends since winning the Daytona 500. And he had a great weekend at Richmond a month and a half ago and tore transmission up. So mechanical problems are hurting his good weekends.
Definitely the car to beat at Richmond. So, caution flag freezes the field with now, counting Jeff Gordon, 15 cars on the lead lap. Ward Burton, if he goes to the garage, that'll make it 14.
And he definitely headed to the garage. Now, Darrell, what's going to be interesting, it's been about 20 laps. These guys have been watching Kurt Busch out there with no tires. They watch Ryan Newman with 2 tires. I think everybody will be on pit road, but I think with only 20 laps, we may see some 2-tire stops. The only thing is, if you change 4 here, you may only have to change 2 on that last stop late in the race.
That would be my plan.
Okay,
give me 4
I'll
now and throw me 2 on there on that last stop and enough gas because we're going to come up about 15 laps short of making it. 1 can of gas will get the job done.
Definitely all the leaders come to pit road. 55 miles an hour down this long pit road.
14 cars on the lead lap. Jeff?
Darrell, you sitting there talking about tires, buddy. We may gas and go with 10 laps to go here at Michigan.
Yeah, that's a good chance of that, too. Depending on how much fuel they got to put in, a can shouldn't take too long. So, a lot of options, obviously.
Matt?
Well, Mike, the 97 car of Kurt Busch, they were talking in the radio about they really did not want to pit at this point, but they felt like they needed to because they didn't want to be stuck in a window when they had to pit, so they're going to play the odds. 4-tire change, no adjustments. Dick Murphy.
Ryan Newman also doing a 4-tire change, pitting right behind him, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. They're putting 1 round of wedge into Ryan Newman's car, and he gets a great pit stop. He's going to beat them all off pit road.
Let me tell you who had a great pit stop. That 17 car, Matt Kins, with 4 tires, and those guys pick up 2 and 3 positions. So much easier for that driver to pass them on pit road than on that racetrack.
A couple of fellows who are in the hunt. Kyle Petty is among the top 15 on the lead lap, and Dave Blaney, that yellow car right there, who had a 6th and an 8th here last year.
Yeah, Blaney has just really looked very consistent.
We see this every week. This is the race to see who beats who off pit road. Ryan Newman in the 12 car right there. There you see Dale Jarrett, and there's that 17 car from 5th to 3rd on a pit stop.
And that crew, they know they've nailed it.
And what I like about where he's pitting, Dale, especially on the caution, he only had to move about one pit box, and he's out.
I'm out of here.
Caution is out. 61 to go.
Hey, Larry, you think anybody can run 58 laps on fuel?
I don't think so.
I love it. You don't think so?
No, I'll never say no.
Boy.
Just no.
I like it.
Hey, what do you think? One more time. They've been asking for it all week. What do you say, Mike?
Let's crank it up on the restart. On the move on the inside of Newman.
This guy's picked him up 2 spots on pit road. He's going to go for the rest of them on the racetrack. Battle for second.
That car is really, really good around the bottom. And boy, at this point in time, that's a real advantage. Everybody's sliding up the hill. He can hook the bottom. That could be big.
Kenseth trying to get his season back on track. He was second in the points 6 races ago, but he's now fallen to 7th after finishing 20th or worse in 4 of the last 6 races. Steve?
Mike, I'll tell you how good that race car is for Matt Kenseth. They've made absolutely no adjustments to that 17 car except for 4 fresh tires. Kenseth saying before the pit stop his biggest problem was negotiating traffic. But that thing is dialed in.
Well, Dale Jarrett said his car ran better out front, so you know what they told him? Why don't you get back out front?
Good place to be. This is a battle for 4th right here. Kurt Busch in the 97, Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Now Steve Park back there, he's 2 laps down in the 1 car.
Jarrett's led 69 laps today, more than twice as many as Bill Elliott. The last time he led the most laps was June of 1999 when he stunk up the show and led 150 of them en route to a runaway victory.
Boy, he did. I remember that race. He just smoked everybody that day. He had the only car here that could run the bottom in that particular race.
I tell you, these guys, they went to Kentucky about a week and a half ago, had a good test, went to Pocono, won the race, came here, brought the same race car, sits on the pole. But I tell you, he's got his hands full right now with Matt Kenseth in that 17.
Last year here, or last August, Kenseth started 33rd and fought his way up to 4th by race end. This is one of his better racetracks.
You know, other than Jimmy Johnson and my brother Michael, who's running there in 6th place and doing a great job, I got to tell you. Look at all them Fords, Larry. 2 Chevrolets and 8 Fords.
This place is always like the Blue Oval.
One of those Fords is Dave Blaney. He just went by Rusty Wallace to move up to 8th place.
And you got to believe, looking at the Pontiac, Johnny Benson's been struggling a lot with his Pontiac. The wheel change seems to help his team, but I haven't heard a word. Have we mentioned Tony Stewart or Bobby Labonte all day long?
Nope, Stewart went a lap down because he pitted just before a caution came out under green, and Bobby Labonte is gone also.
So maybe it's not the aero package that's giving them the problem.
But I tell you guys, Matt Kenseth in the 17 last lap, he got a great run off turn 4, was able to carry that momentum down the front stretch, and he takes the lead for the first time today.
7th, make that 8th different leader of the day, Matt Kenseth. Michael Waltrip battling Kurt Busch. That'll be for 5th place.
And let me tell you, that 15 car gets good gas mileage. Could be a big factor at the end of this race.
And you know, Kurt Busch continues to slide backwards. Remember, going back a little bit, that's the reason they stayed out. Jimmy Finney just said it took his car a while to come in, start gripping the racetrack with fresh tires.
Tuesday night on the Best Damn Sports Show, period, guest host will be Michael Waltrip. On Fox Sports Net, check your local listings.
Hey, we got a battle right here for second. Ryan Newman in that 12 car. Dale Jarrett in the 88 UPS car. Looks like maybe Dale Jarrett's car is not as good as it was just a little bit ago.
I thought it was because he got caught back in traffic. But it could be that these cautions are allowing these other guys to make the right adjustments on their car, and they're getting better than he is.
And that's the hardest thing to explain, especially to a new fan. Hey, when I went to the refrigerator, Jarrett was the fastest thing here. You know, what happened?
Well, again, we talk about the weather. Look how sunny it is right now. And the sun's been out for a while, so these cars, we talk about tweaking on them, you know, half a turn, half a pound, the sun in, the sun out. These cars are very sensitive.
And the competition has gotten so close, and small adjustments just make such a big difference.
They're just like my buddy down there in the Hollywood Hotel. These cars have feelings, you know.
Would that be Hollywood Hammer?
That's him, Hollywood Hammer.
Matt Kenseth is trying to drive away from the field here at Michigan. 50 laps to go as they cross the stripe. Dale Jarrett, Ryan Newman, 3 Fords, then Jimmy Johnson's Chevy, Kurt Busch's Ford, Michael Waltrip's Chevy, then Ricky Rudd, Dave Blaney, Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace, and also on the lead lap, Johnny Benson, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Petty, the 9 of Bill Elliott, who we're riding with, just past Kyle Petty there. Those are the lead lap cars, 14 of them.
And Bill Elliott, he has a good race car. We go back to that first green flag stop about lap 45 where he ran out of fuel. It put him so far behind, he's just never been able to make up that deficit.
Getting into the final quarter of 400 miles here at Michigan with Matt Kenseth from Wisconsin out front. 45 laps to go. Here's how the Coca-Cola Racing family fares in today's race. Dale Jarrett has led the most laps, but presently 4th, just ahead of Michael Waltrip and Kurt Busch and Ricky Rudd. Bill Elliott, Kyle Petty still on the lead lap here. While Tony Stewart got caught on the pit stop sequence, he's a lap down. John Andretti brushed the wall.
You know, Mike, one thing about this racetrack, if you can run the bottom a lot like Kenseth is, he's taking that late apex into the corner there and then running real low up off the corner. This track has one line around it. There's no lines to tell you where you are on the racetrack. Very deceiving sometimes when you drive off high in the corners here as just to where you are track-wise, and you can slip up and hit that outside retaining wall real easy. But if you're right down here, no problem. Follow that white line. It's almost like the yellow brick road.
Jimmy Johnson is the second back, then Ryan Newman, Dale Jarrett, Michael Waltrip, and Kurt Busch now finds himself 3.5 seconds back after leading 24 laps earlier in the day. Kurt Busch feeling the heat from Ricky Rudd.
Yeah, and that 77 car, I tell you, I keep watching him too, Mike. And Blaney, he just kind of keeps creeping up there behind Rudd. He's gained a lot on him, and there's another guy. There's Rusty Wallace there. Not too far back either.
But you know, Darrell, we had Dave Blaney on our trackside show the other night on Speed Channel, and I asked him, you know, we talked about it seems like your style has always suited this type of racetrack. We go back to Fontana a couple of months ago, a little bit of strategy. If they hadn't caught that caution, he may have won that race. He just seems like him and Ryan Pemberton, they always have a good package for this type of racetrack.
If you don't mind riding on the right rear tire, a lot of guys like to ride on the right front. They want to feel that tire digging in. But if you're an old sprint car driver and used to running the thing off the right rear, that's a different feel. And I think that's what pays off for him on these kind of racetracks.
You know, a guy that's beginning to fade just a little bit. He's about 2.5, 3/10 off the leader, Matt Kenseth, right now. Dale Jarrett, our pit guys were telling me while we were at break that his car has tightened up, but the track temperature has come up. The sun popped out, and what will happen, it don't necessarily make your car loose. You think the sun out, you're going to get loose. If your car is sliding the front tires a little bit, when the track heats up, it'll just slide them more. So he's getting tighter as this track temperature comes up.
And the way you compensate for that is you back off early. Back off the throttle early. Don't drive it down in there quite as hard as you've been driving it down in there. Back off early. Get the nose planted. Get the nose down. And then mat it wide open up off the corner. And see, Jarrett, look where he is. Right down. He was been running pretty high there. He was in real low.
So Matt Kenseth trying to close from 7th in the Winston Cup point standing. 6 races ago, he was 2nd to Sterling Marlin. Marlin right now with a 136-point lead over Jimmy Johnson. And Sterling, again, got caught on that pit stop sequence. He is 20th. 1 lap down.
Mike, just let me say that this is one of those racetracks where you can slow down and go faster. Sometimes they'll tell you to back off a little bit and slow down, and you actually pick up speed. But, we were talking about the Pontiacs and the rule change and who it was going to help. I mean, the Gibbs crowd has been hollering the loudest, and they was the ones that said they needed an aero change. But we sure haven't seen the results from that change today. Ooh, there's a change for the lead right there, guys.
Jimmy Johnson puts a Chevy out in front of 3 Fords, Kenseth, Newman, and Jarrett. The key to this race may well have been when Dale Jarrett misunderstood the radio call, coming to the caution and let Jimmy Johnson back to the lead lap.
But I tell you what, the real key is going to be now that that's behind us is we all know that pretty much for the most part, everybody has to make one more stop, and it's going to be somewhere between 10 and 15 laps to go. I agree with Jeff Hammond, a little shot of fuel. So I think that green flag stop, should we not have a caution, that's going to determine the outcome of this race.
2 Chevys in the top 10, 8 Fords, 2 Dodges in the top 15, and the Pontiacs in this race are 11th. That's Benson, 16th, Tony Stewart, 26th, Bobby Labonte, and 31st, Kenny Schrader. So for more on how those Pontiacs have fared with the rule change, here's Matt.
With Jimmy Maycar and Todd Meredith holding station on top of the war wagon here. Jimmy, a lot of people expected the changes would help you and the other Pontiac teams, but your team has struggled today.
Well, yeah, that's kind of an understatement. But as far as we're concerned, our car's been we've been struggling for a while now. This particular tire Goodyear's come with for the last year or so, and especially on the speedways, we seem to be fine on the flatter track, shorter track. But this new design's been giving us a fit. We've been trying lots of different stuff setup-wise, and still haven't seemed to be able to hit on it. Kind of today's one of those days again. We changed 4 springs and 4 shocks and the sway bars in the car this morning from yesterday's practice. It doesn't seem to be any better, and we're just building a lot of adjustability in the car, which we're doing kind of testing today, just trying to find something that Bobby likes that we can get back on track and be able to run these people.
You heard Jimmy say they turned today into a test session, which we've seen several drivers do over the past couple of years when they just feel like they don't have the feel they're looking for. An uncharacteristic day for a 3-time Michigan winner.
And here's the thing that kind of bugs me a little bit, and I don't mean to step on anybody's feelings here, but going to NASCAR and trying to get them to fix your problems, I think you get what you ask for with the car, and then you find out, hey, that wasn't really our problem after all.
But the tire that the teams had back in 2000, it was a very soft tire. It was a grippy tire. The car, we were running fast everywhere we went. Then in 2001, the tire package came along, and it's a harder tire. The car don't stick as good.
Ricky Rudd coming up. Try to draft along with Dale Jarrett. They are now 5th and 6th. Let's go to the leader's pit. That's Jimmy Johnson's pit. Dick Berggren.
Well, Jimmy Johnson a few laps ago told his crew in one word that the car is awesome. That's a direct quote. It's awesome. A little while after that, crew chief Chad Knaus came on and said, I know you're not going to like this, but save it when you can. It is fuel. These guys do have trouble conserving fuel. Steve.
Dick, Matt Kenseth pitted on lap 139. They made no adjustments to that race car, but since that time, Kenseth has been telling crew chief Robbie Reisler that he's gotten progressively looser. So that's the problem that Kenseth has right now. He's a little bit on the loose side.
Who is Jimmy Johnson's mentor? What was his favorite word that he said, I think, 97 times in his first Winston Cup acceptance speech? Jeff Gordon, awesome. If Jimmy Johnson's awesome, that's bad news for some of these fellas.
But here's going to be the Achilles heel, I believe. Who's going to come down pit road the best without speeding? Got to really be careful here at the end of the day. Making this green flag stop is going to be critical. 77 car is crept right up in there, and he's right there sitting ready to pounce all over the back of the 28 and the 88. And his car looks really good, running nice and low around the racetrack. The car is fast.
Is Busch off the pace, or did Jarrett just get a good run on him?
Looks like he's going to lose even another position here to Ricky Rudd.
I guess he just didn't get off turn 2 very well.
And I think now you see why the 97 elects to stay out sometime on tires, because he come in and got 4 tires, hadn't been near as good as he was on the old ones.
This battle is almost 5 seconds behind our leader, Jimmy Johnson, right now. I tell you, a good race car. Kevin Harvick in the 29 car, the Goodrich car, but he was one of the cars that was caught on pit road by making a green flag stop back at halfway. So he's sitting there, unfortunately, 2 laps down. Dick Berggren, how about Jimmy Johnson, our leader?
Well, more on that same conversation about saving fuel. Johnson said the car is really good up front, and he asked Chad Knaus if he wanted him to stay up there, drop back, and save fuel.
And welcome back to Michigan. Rookie Jimmy Johnson trying to make history with his 3rd race in his rookie year. It was here, lap 97, when John Andretti hit the wall, bringing out the first caution. And Dale Jarrett, who was leading, let Jimmy Johnson get his lap back. And that's trouble because on lap 161, Jimmy Johnson took the lead after a Ford had led since lap 49. And right now, Jimmy Johnson is trying to hold off another Ford and Matt Kenseth and Ryan Newman with 27 laps to go, and still Jeff Hammond another pit stop to make.
Yeah, and it's going to be the one that's going to make or break this whole day for a lot of these guys. They're trying to keep pace with Jimmy Johnson, but this last pit stop is going to be so crucial because a lot of these cars, all they're going to have to take is a splash of gas. So how they execute and get on the racetrack and back off is going to be so important. And whether or not these pit crews can hit that gas hole, count that number of seconds, how many gallons they need, and get back up to speed could make a big difference.
Well, let's get thoughts from Larry McReynolds on that. Larry?
Larry, what do you think? Might somebody not make that last stop?
Well, I mean, Darrell and I have been talking. There's a good chance. Elliott Sadler in that 21, another guy. He's up to 7th. Dave Blaney in the 77. He's another one that possibly may try to stretch his thing. Because you know what, Darrell? Elliott Sadler, Dave Blaney, they're really not in a points race. Right. They really aren't. I know we're only 14, 15 races into it. They need a win.
Buddy, I'm going to tell you, when we stand up here and talk about the last pit stop, we better go check, see if somebody hadn't already made their last pit stop.
Yeah, Blaney is 18th in points. Sadler is 23rd in points. Got a little less to risk here. But boy, what a victory would be. Boy, Jeff Green almost brushed the wall between turn 3 and 4 as he comes by. Looks like he stayed off it, but he was pretty close up there.
He smeared the Goodyear on the side of his tire.
From Tony Stewart's Old Spice cam. Now Stewart is 1 lap down, watching Jeff Green up there, running the high line.
Another guy that's running that high line, he came up off the bottom, and it seemed to be helping him is Matt Kenseth. He was running around the bottom kind of like Jimmy Johnson was, and all of a sudden he moved up to the top, and he's cut that lead down just a little bit, and maybe even a little bit more. And now look at Jimmy Johnson. Looks like he's trying to shadow what the 17 car is doing. And again, you know, Rusty's back there. He's not too far off either.
I mean, they caught the 44 car so quick, he was trying to complete the pass on Dale Jarrett. This is a battle for 8, so Dale Jarrett, the UPS car, continues to go backwards.
Well, this joint here will do that to you. You can have a great car the first half of the race. Don't know what happened. You didn't change anything. If you ask the driver, you ask the crew, say, we don't know what happened. The car just second half wasn't any good. That's the racetrack. That's what this track's known for. Things will get so loose in and so tight off, you can't fix them.
Matt Kenseth, winner at Rockingham, winner at Texas, second at Martinsville, second in Charlotte. Trying to take the lead from Jimmy Johnson the long way around.
He's pretty much been feast or famine. He's either up there bidding for the win or they've had some sort of mechanical failure that has bit him, just like last week at Pocono with the transmission.
Now let's talk about these drivers that are running the high line. They are going further. If they had an odometer, they're running further. And is that using more gas?
Well, but there's a good chance now. This is a possibility. If you run that high line, maybe you got a high gear. You need that high line to make your car run fast because you're geared up a little higher. The other guys won't burn as much fuel. Got to run the low line with the lower gear to torque up off the corner. So you never know. Different strategies. Well, they say different strokes for different folks. So,
that's right. And boy, it's definitely different lines through the corner. I mean, one's at the very bottom, one's against the wall.
And they come off and they meet right there coming up on the back straightaway.
Behind them, Ryan Newman is 3.2 seconds off the lead, and he has a big gap back to Michael Waltrip. Dick Berggren?
But on this Father's Day weekend, Ryan Newman talked about his dad, Greg. Ryan says 95% of his competitive spirit comes from his dad. Educational moments for him when he was a kid, watching one car for a full race, sitting in the grandstand with his dad. Greg Newman is his son's catch can man. He's also the motorhome driver. Greg and his wife, Diane, live in the motorhome during the week until they get to the racetrack, at which point they depart and go to a motel so Ryan Newman can occupy his home on wheels.
Ford No Boundaries moment with 21 laps to go, and maybe, probably, possibly, or will there be one more pit stop? Lots of kids and families enjoying the Winston Cup race here at Michigan, presented by Circuit City, where Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth are just a bumper width apart.
It's talking about mom and dad driving the motor coach. I've heard of tennis brats, and I guess now we got racing brats.
Well, the green flag stops. They have started. Bill Elliott, who was on the lead lap, he pitted about 2 laps ago, a little splash of fuel. Remember, earlier in the race, he was one of the cars that showed they could not go as far as the rest of the cars.
Yeah, he did take 2 tires, and let me tell you, that 17 is all over the back of that 48.
In the straightaway.
Well, they come together.
Yeah.
They part, and then right down there, about right along in here, they start coming back together, and there they are.
But right now, they have them 3 wide in front of them, about 20 car lengths up there. So, you know, this lap traffic here, it can definitely play. As you know, it's a wide racetrack. If you catch them at the wrong place in your line, it can hurt you.
Well, if I'm going to come to pit road, of course, there are different lines that they're running. It shouldn't affect anything. But if I was going to come to pit road, I sure don't want that 17 stuck up my bumper. Here comes the 24 car down
You got
pit road.
1 and 2 coming there behind you.
Now, if the 48 pits, well, he's going to clear Robbie Gordon, who's going to pit road, as Kenseth blasts by him.
Yeah, see, he's getting ready to come. But look, he's slowing down way too much, Larry. He should have come on around here. Of course, I guess that traffic is affecting him a little bit.
Darrell, this is an old Formula One trick. When you catch a group of cars, pit then, so you don't waste a lot of time with them holding you up. You'll probably get back on track in clean air.
Yeah, that could be. That's a good call.
What we're seeing is most of these cars take on just 2 right side tires. Dick Bergman, our leader, is in.
Yes, he is, and they had been anticipating this. This was absolutely planned. Jimmy Johnson pits very close to pit wall. There's going to be no tires. He's going to go with no tires. This is exactly the strategy he has used to win 2 races before this year. Jim Pollard, just enough gas to get into the end.
And that's what happens when a good car pits early. I mean, you know, we saw it at Dover. You feel like when you're leading the race, you're a setting duck. So you got to dictate what everybody's going to do.
Well, what he has to do, Darrell, is get those tires cleaned off. Remember, they picked up a lot of stuff on the apron, and get back up to speed just as quick as he can and get back in his rhythm.
But I like that call. Pit now, so you don't have to fight those lap cars and lose a lot of time doing it. Pit, get back out there, find yourself some clean air.
Rusty Wallace on the lead lap. He's on pit road for his final stop. $13 laps to go. Looks like they're going to do 2 right side tires on Rusty. A lot of cars doing right sides. A lot of cars like Jimmy Johnson, just 4 or 5 seconds of fuel.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Park, and Mike Skinner are in for their final splash. Ricky Rudd is in. Now he's moved up to 3rd place.
And Darrell, he did about as good a job as you can do getting to that mark where you have to be 55 miles an hour. He picked the throttle back up in 3 and 4, almost like he's going to run another lap.
Steve?
Robbie Reiser, the crew chief for Matt Kenseth, signaled Michael McSwain, the crew chief on the 28, to let him know what lap they were coming in on. 28 came in, took gas only, 17 coming shortly.
Ricky Rudd's stop looked like just a stop and go.
Yeah, I mean, I think they didn't need to be there any longer. I felt like Jimmy Johnson, 5 seconds, was there a little longer than he really needed to be.
Here's the key. How long will Robbie Reiser's car be stopped?
All right, about 5 away. Here we are.
Benji Grubbs is the gas man. He hits it, no tires for the 17.
He was only there about 3 seconds.
I'm not so sure he got enough fuel in his car. He must not needed much, Dick.
Well, here's Ryan Newman on pit road. Greg Whitley, he overshot his pit by just a tad. Greg Whitley's supposed to put just 3 seconds worth in, maybe a tad more than that. Boy, fast stop for Newman.
3.5 seconds for Dale Jarrett for fuel. Kyle Petty is in as well. Kyle in 8th place. And Michael Waltrip moves up to the lead. Waltrip, whose best finish ever here, was 7th.
But hey, I'll tell you what, Mikey did a great job then of bringing that thing onto pit road.
So did Kurt Busch in the 97 car.
Staying right with him, yeah.
And the leader And maybe the gas mileage king today, Dave Blaney. Matt.
Well, Mike, Jack Roush came down to the 97 pit, and he told crew chief Jimmy Finnick, from my calculations, you only need 2 seconds of fuel. 1001, 1002, Doug Newell gets the gas in. The 15 car of Michael Waltrip, also on pit road. Both cars exiting pit road.
I really feel like all of that was dictated by the 48 coming first and only taking fuel. Now you can't take tires. Here comes the 77 at pit road.
Yeah, and that's all of our leaders on pit road. They would have had to run 122 miles had they not stopped. And I just think that was further than anybody could do.
Well, I wish he could have done it, but that was all I could do for him was wish.
Blaney's pit stop will move Matt Kenseth back to the lead.
I just think that's another product of that great pit crew he has, Mike. He comes in and gets out first, passes cars into pits.
Well, I mean, he's went to a 4.5-second lead. I think two things, Darrell. You pointed it out as Jimmy Johnson. He came to pit road way too conservative. Yeah. Matt Kenseth is a little bit of a veteran, though. 3 years. Also, he was there 2 less seconds on pit road.
I didn't like the way, I mean, Jimmy's doing a great job, don't get me wrong, and this is not a critic. I'm not being critical of him, but he didn't get to the end of pit road quite quick enough.
Matt Kenseth back to the lead by, was about 4 seconds last time around that he had on Johnson. Now 4.7. And look at how they've done in the pits. They've only lost 1 spot all day on pit road.
And the time they lost a spot is because a car stayed out. So they realistically on pit road did not lose a spot.
Now the only car in that crowd that took tires was Bill Elliott. He took 2 right side tires because he was the first car on pit road. And I tell you, it's paying off pretty good for him because he's up to 7th place.
Definitely, and he was back there about 13th.
Here comes the 21 down pit road.
Now the 21 Sadler is a lap down as we cycle through these stops. And we kind of feel if he can't make it all the way, nobody can.
That's right. Pretty much the way it has been this year.
But guys, I'm going to tell you, with 7 laps to go, right now, Matt Kenseth has beaten Jimmy Johnson about 0.2 a lap. It's not going to happen unless we have a caution to bunch him back up.
No, I think that Kenseth, once again, has won the race in the pits. And that is a team effort. We're not discounting the ability of the driver. The driver's got to do his part, but buddy, they're doing their part in the pits as well.
We'll look at our Fox tracks right here. There you see Matt Kenseth, the leader, coming off turn 4. There you see Jimmy Johnson just now entering turn 4, and that equates to about 5 seconds back. Matt Kenseth continues to beat about 0.2 a lap.
It is Sadler in turn 2.
And the caution is out. Caution is out.
But everyone on the lead lap has made their pit stop, so this should not change things up too much.
Now here's a guy that is going to really could pay off big time. It's not going to take long to clean this up.
He just had come off pit road. They took no tires. Darrell talked about it with Jimmy Johnson. He didn't have those tires cleaned off after leaving the apron.
I think you're probably right. But the guy that this is playing into his hand, this guy's got 2 fresh tires that nobody else does, and he's up to 7th place. This could be a big, big break for Bill Elliott.
Winningest active driver here.
And with Elliott Sadler getting his car moving, this definitely, I think, will be a quickie caution. Yeah, we should get a couple laps of racing.
I haven't seen debris or anything, so I think we're going to go right back to green.
This track is so wide and has so many usable lanes that if you're, as we watch Elliott Sadler, let's see what happened here.
He just come out, I think it's like we said, see, he's still up. I think he's still up in 3rd gear.
Yeah, he had not come to high gear yet, exactly.
He just got that debris all over his tires trying to get out of the pits in a hurry.
He's very lucky he didn't hit anything. It's a good thing this is a wide racetrack and a wide apron.
Darrell, if you're Johnny Benson, Mark Martin, Kyle Petty, or Jeff Gordon on the back end of this lead lap, do you want tires now?
Oh, anybody that's at the back might as well come in and get them some tires.
But guys, we're seeing consistency over in turn 3. They're going to get all the cars slowed down. We will see a red flag guaranteeing us a green flag finish.
All those fans who were headed out of the stands thinking Matt Kenseth would go to victory lane are filing back in.
And they're standing. They're not sitting.
That's right. Matt Kenseth is our leader as the field has been halted at 195 laps for Elliott Sadler's spin at turn 2. cars have been stopped on the backstretch for Elliott Sadler's spin at turn 2. If they get the cars restarted and bring them around to pit, that means we could go green, white, checker the last 2 laps and finish this race hopefully under green.
No thing I notice now, we have an official out there with the race cars under red flag. That's something we never seen before up until Mr. Marlin decided to work on his left front fender at Daytona a few months ago.
Don't be getting out of that car.
See if we got anything official going on at the Hollywood Hotel.
Well, Mike, it's always unofficial business here. You know that with Jeff Hamlin, Chris Myers, and 30-year-old Matt Kenseth, your leader here with 5 laps to go. A couple of 20-year-olds, Jimmy Johnson and Ryan Newman, sitting behind him at the moment. A quick item of interest for those of you who watched the Busch race last night in Kentucky with the rain delays. They completing that today. You'll see they finish at 5:30 Eastern time on FX coming up as we are finished here, of course.
It's going to really be an exciting race along with this one right here. This is going to be a barn burner here with this 5 laps to go.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about what we can expect over these remaining moments.
What can you expect? Expect the unexpected right now. Matt Kenseth is sitting there in the catbird seat, but at the same time, he's got a lot of guys behind him who are looking for this opportunity to close back up on him and make a run at him here with possibly, a green, white checker finish.
All right, let's check in. I go trackside with Steve Burns. Steve?
And we've caught with Robbie Reiser. Robbie, you got a smile on your face. Have you guys figured something out?
Oh, yeah, we're going to come down and get 4 tires. No question about it. I think. I'm sure. I don't know.
That's the equivalent of a pump fake.
What?
That's the equivalent of a pump fake. What are you guys going to do?
If you're watching, you got to tell them what you think you're going to do. I don't know. What would you do?
Stay out.
I don't know. We'll have to see what's going to happen here. I'll tell you what, though. We probably could take 4, but then maybe we could take 2, and then maybe we could stay out. So I guess one of those 3 options.
Yeah, Steve Burns, tell Robbie that what he's hoping is that everybody along pit road that's on the lead lap is watching our broadcast and listening to him. I don't think it's going to work, though.
Larry Mack says you better hope that everybody on pit road is listening to the broadcast.
Yeah, well, we don't have much choice. I mean, what are you going to do? You're leading the race. You gotta go for it, But hey, Larry, why don't you tell me what to do? You guys always know the answers, right?
Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Well, up on the war wagon with Chad Knaus, and getting right down to it, buddy. What are we going to do now?
I don't think we're going to come in. I think we're going to stay out. I would have to assume the majority of the front runners are going to stay out. There's going to be some people back in the back that come in and probably take on 2 tires. This is going to be an interesting 4 laps after we take the green, I can tell you that. I hope everybody keeps their head and everybody's safe there. We got a car that's probably fast enough to win the race, but we'll just have to wait and see how circumstances play out.
Now, this is going to be wild. Are you going to run conservative and protect your points, or are you going to go for the win?
I think you know me well enough. We don't go very conservative.
They sure don't. To Matt.
Well, Dick, with 14 cars in the lead lap, the 97 is not going to pit. But Jimmy Finnick, do you have any aerodynamic damage to that front fascia? Is that hurting the car?
Yeah, right now, the last stop, we had a big hole in the left front headlight. So, of course, that induces drag. And, it's no good to have something like that. So we'll just see what happens at the end here. Let's hopefully nobody get crazy out there, because everybody be on old tires except for a few. But let's just see what happens to the end.
You're in 5th. Quickly, what's it going to play out here?
I'm going to stay right there. I'm just going to stay out there and just go in probably a green, white checkered and just see what we got at the end.
Currently in the 5th position, Mike Joy.
14 cars on the lead lap. The last of those might be the best guy here on 4 fresh tires, Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, but he's just not going to have time. I mean, they're going to fan out. They're single file restart. All the lead cars will be up in the front. You get 4 tires and spend $1,800 if you want to, but I don't think it's going to help you that much. It might help you a spot or 2.
But, Darrell, I would not be surprised. Dale Jarrett back in 9th. Rusty, Johnny Benson, Mark Martin, those guys, they may roll the dice and come in for a 3 or 4 lap shootout and put them some fresh tires.
Yeah, the closer, the more to the rear you go, the further back you go, the more chances you are to come in and get 4 tires because you don't have anything to lose.
We'll know in a minute as they come around toward pit road. Let's update you on the current Craftsman Truck Series standings, brought to you by Sears. David Starr, 17 up on Rick Crawford, Ted Musgrave, Mike Bliss, and Jason Leffler. We'll remind you the Busch Series finishing up their race at Kentucky that you'll see at 5:30 today on FX. The conclusion of that one that was rain delayed last night. Okay.
Pit road is open now. He's waving the green flag, so pit road is open. Remember, even if they come to pit road, Daryl, you mentioned single file restart. That means it's within 10 to go, and they were going to get the 1 to go signal here that you will be able to drive back up to the other guys because lead lap cars only to the front.
Michael comes in. He's 6th place car, and he comes on to pit road.
Dave Blaney as well.
I still think, Larry, the guy that is advantaged right now is Bill Elliott. He's got 2 right side tires with not very many laps on them.
He may be the best friend that those guys at the front have. He may be holding these guys off enough laps.
Blaney stops with Jarrett, Gordon, Rusty Wallace, Benson, Michael Waltrip, Kyle Petty, and Mark Martin among the lead lap cars.
And the reason we see a lot of lap down cars, this is what they call a quickie yellow. Look, Jeff Gordon looks like he's going to change 4 tires. But the reason we see everybody on pit road under a quickie caution, even lap down cars can come to pit road.
Boy, what a mess we got here. The 25 is trying to get in his pit box. 45 is trying to get out. And that all started because Mark Martin shot in front of the 25. He killed the engine and couldn't get it cranked and got a melee here on pit road.
And you hate that for Kyle Petty because he's a lead lap car and Joe Nemechek is 3 laps down.
But when they give a quickie yellow, they can everybody come on pit road at the same time.
And that's the downside to me of pitting this near the end. Chance of mistakes, whether it's your mistake or someone else's mistake.
Exactly. The lights are off on that old caution car, and boys, we're getting ready to settle this thing.
And since they gave the quickie yellow opening of pit road and the 1 to go at the same time, we'll get to race 3 laps to finish this. Sterling Marlin, I'm going to pit. No, I'm not going to pit.
Sterling's sitting there in 19th position, again a lap down, but all the lap down cars will have to line up behind the lead lap cars, regardless if you stayed out or whether you pitted or not.
Well, this could be a big point swing. You know, you got Kenseth up there leading the race, and Sterling way back there in 19th, 20th spot. So
here's how they're going to come down. Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, Michael Waltrip, Newman, Rudd, Busch, Elliott, Blaney, Jarrett, Benson, Rusty Wallace, Gordon, Martin, and Kyle Petty. Here we go.
Spinning the tires, Ricky Rudd did. You got to watch that on these restarts on those old tires, picking up a lot of debris. Michael on 4 fresh tires, look to the inside.
And here he comes.
He's bringing Dave Blaney in the 77 with him. Look at Dale Jarrett in 88. He went even down lower with those 4 fresh tires.
Boy, Michael, look at Michael get a run off the turn 2 there on the inside of those 4 fresh tires.
Yep. Give me those tires and watch me go.
Hello. Man, he looks like he shot out of a cannon down that back straightaway. And Bill's right there with him. Bill got kind of snookered on that start, lost a little time.
Whoa, 3 wide, 4 wide. That's the Michigan we remember.
2 laps to go this time. While these guys are doing this, though, Matt Kenseth in the 17, Ryan Newman in 12, they're pulling away, but Michael is coming.
He is, and where he's really going to gain is in the turns, because that's where those 4 fresh tires are really going to kick in.
Jarrett is coming with Michael Waltrip, but can they catch the 2 leaders? And Jeff Gordon is coming up into the top half dozen.
Well, we know Gordon's good on 4 tires, so that doesn't surprise me.
Up front, Ryan Newman trying to become the first Winston Cup driver since Cale Yarborough in '69 to win first race at Michigan.
But look at the run Dale Jarrett, the 88 car got off of Michael Waltrip coming in the middle of 3 and 4. We're going to be the white flag this time, though, guys. Is he going to have enough time?
And the 24 car is right there, too, boys. Well, look at the 10 on the apron.
There is no out of bounds here. You can go through the grass if you need to, and he's going to complete the pass there.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be close down in his corners. Yikes.
He made the pass, picked up 2 positions, but he hurt his momentum. Jeff Gordon's getting to run back on it on turn 2.
Gordon's flying. He comes up along the outside of Jarrett there.
Yeah,
Jarrett is there, going after Newman.
I believe he's got it, boys. He has those 4 fresh tires. He's going to take 2nd position.
I think
going for the win.
He's going to go to the outside.
Where?
Here he comes.
Go to block.
Here he comes. Kenseth's going to try to block him.
Jarrett going for 2 in a row. Matt Kenseth leads it. Jarrett looks low. No. Kenseth to win it. Jarrett, Newman, Waltrip, side by side, Benson and Gordon.
Boy, the way that restart played out, Larry, 4 tires turned out to be a good call.
Boy, it absolutely did. I mean, 4 tires basically finished 2nd, finished 4th, finished 5th, 6th, 7th.
And Bill, where'd he end up? He slid way back there on those 2 tires he had. He's 11th.
And Jimmy Johnson fell all the way back to 14th.
Matt Kenseth gets his 2nd straight top 5 in his 6th race here and his first Michigan win. He leads the league in victories now with 3. We'll talk to him in a minute. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to our Circuit City post-race show where Matt Kenseth has won the Sirius Satellite Radio 400 at Michigan International Speedway. Let's go down to our Circuit City winner circle. Steve Burns.
Well, Matt Kenseth, great job. Tell us how you and this race team won this race at Michigan.
Just great pit stops. We had track position when we needed. These DeWalt guys are the greatest on pit road, and we got in and out of there quick when we needed to at the end. And, we struggled a little bit in the beginning of the race, but, they came through, got the stops when we needed it. But this DeWalt Ford ran really good today, I got to thank AT&T Broadband, Craft Singles, and DeWalt. We just had a great car. I'm glad we're back in victory lane. We ran good the last 2 weeks, but we had some unfortunate things happen. We blew a tire one week and broke a transmission last week, so it feels good to get back here.
Now, Matt, you got out front, but then the red flag was displayed. What did that do to you mentally?
I hate that. I thought I'd lose it for sure. So usually we're not super fast on restarts, you know what I mean? Usually they can look under me on new tires, and it takes a while for me to get handling good and catch them. So I was glad we got the 48 out of there, but then we had the 12, and, he'd really get a run on me. We were able to get him up off the corner good enough to pull away.
Tell us about the battle at the very end.
Well, I was just trying to block the 12. He would get a real good run on me getting into the corner, so I tried to back him up, get in, and get on the gas as early as I could. So I had a good last 3 laps, except off 2 the last lap. I didn't have a good lap, and he must not have either. So, just happy to be getting away.
Congratulations. Let's go upstairs to Mike Joy.
For the 10th time this year, a driver who started outside the top 10 has won. Matt Kenseth being congratulated by car owner Jack Roush. We'll talk to runner-up Dale Jarrett when we come back to Michigan. Welcome back to Michigan and our Circuit City post-race show, where Matt Kenseth held off the drivers who got those 2 or 4 tires at the end of the race, and one of those who ripped his way up through the field was...
Nice call, Todd. 10-4, buddy. You two, way to drive the wheels off that thing, dude. You are the man. Woo! Yeah, baby.
Was Dale Jarrett. Matt Yoakum's with him.
And Mike, Dale Jarrett did drive the wheels off that 88 car, almost back like in 1991 when you won here in a thriller, but it was a thriller today, DJ.
Yeah, it was. We've been fortunate the last couple of weeks to get some good breaks, and we had a great race car the first half of the race. I don't know why it got so tight, but it just kept getting tighter and tighter, and finally got to really plowing. So we were fortunate for that caution. Todd made a great call, 4 tires. That was an awesome call. And we knew our car was fast, and what really worked to our advantage, my car would go right around the bottom on new tires, and those guys couldn't stay down on the bottom. So almost pulled it off. I needed one more corner. I think I might have could have done it, but congratulations to Matt. It's a great day for him. But we're really happy about what we're doing, and say Happy Father's Day to my dad and all the dads out there.
Now, back in 1999, you won this race and started a huge momentum surge. Are we seeing that with you in this 88 team now?
Well, I think so. I hope so anyway. I feel really good about what we've been able to do, make adjustments, get the car better, have a chance at winning every time, and that's what we want to do. Run the top 5, give ourselves a chance. So hopefully we can go to Sirius Point next week and do the same thing.
Dale Jarrett comes home second, 3rd straight, top 5 finish. Mike?
That'll close him in on the top 10 in points. As we look at the results, Darryl, those last few laps, I didn't know who to watch streaming through the field, Jarrett or Jeff Gordon, who came from 14th to 5th.
I just hope that all the folks at home are watching this race realize, folks, it's not just about cars going around in circles. It's about strategy. It's about pit stops. It's about adjustments. So much goes on in the 3.5 hours of one of these races, and I hope that we're bringing that home to you.
But who would ever believe with that few laps to go that 4 tires would have made that much difference? I mean, you look at the top 7, 5 of those guys, they came to pit road and got 4 fresh tires. And that's Jeff Gordon. He's fighting to stay on the lead lap halfway through, comes home 5th, 4 fresh tires.
How close was it? 5th place was decided by 6 1/1000ths of a second. More from Michigan after this.
Welcome back live to Michigan. That's your winner today, Matt Kenseth, part of Roush Racing. Here's how he did it after 197 laps on the restart. This is the rest of the pack, Jeff Hammond, trying to make up ground.
Oh, you see right there, Johnny Benson goes all the way down on the apron to make the pass here on Jeff Gordon right there. It was a wild restart. Second place finisher, Jimmy Johnson, got shuffled back really, really quick.
And then coming to the checkered flag.
Oh, here we go again. Jeff Gordon was on the outside. Johnny Benson drove back underneath him, and you can see right there Gordon and Benson going door handle to door handle, trying to finish up in the top 5. And Jeff Gordon actually won the race in the start-finish line. But from basically 6th on back, it was pushing and shoving, beating and banging. and Rusty Wallace came home 7th, but Jimmy Johnson goes from 2nd to 14th on the last restart.
And that pack 6th through 14th. And, Matt Kenseth, and we showed throughout the day, his pit crew, no surprise, kept him in the race, and in position to eventually win it.
Chris, you don't call them world champions for nothing, and these guys are here to perform like champions today. They got a victory. Great job by Matt Kenseth, but you can't say enough about his pit crew.
All right, rookie Ryan Newman, his third top 5 in the last 5 races, actually wound up third. He's standing by with our Dick Berggren.
In racing parlance, when you've got a very fast car, they talk about blowing people's doors off. Right now, Walt Zarnicki and Matt Borland are looking at the door that started to blow off Ryan Newman's car. You had a good car. Finally, you were there at the end. So close. What more did you need?
Just, I don't know, a little time. We were a lot better on the longer runs than we were on the short runs. And that 3-lap run there at the end, it was just hang it all out and see what happens. And Matt had a great car. And I think Jared had fresh tires coming up there. But just a good run all day for the Alltel Ford to stay up front and lead some laps and get us some points. That's what it's all about.
And the reliability was there. Let's go to Matt.
First 8 races of 2002, 1 top 10 finish from Michael Waltrip. The last 7, 5. You guys are on a roll, and a great inside move there.
I knew where I was going when that restart happened. My car worked really good down on the bottom. I cut around there, made the pass. Happy Father's Day to BL Franks, Buffy's dad. I love you, buddy. And to my dad. I gather a lot of strength from Daddy, and he's not here anymore, but I still think about him every day. And great day for the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet. And did I mention that Ritz Crackers and Klausner Furniture are also sponsors on our car?
No, and he also takes a drink of Diet Coke and a great 4th place finish for Michael Waltrip. Chris.
All right, boy, those Waltrips really know how to sell, don't they? All right. And don't miss a lap as Speed Channel takes over live coverage of select NASCAR Winston Cup qualifying at happy hours for the second half of this year's NASCAR season. Dial 1-888-22-SPEED to get it. We'll be right back live here in Michigan on Fox. Welcome back live here in Michigan, and coming up on FX, the completion of the rain-delayed Kroger 300. That's the Busch race on FX, presented by Oreo from Kentucky. Again, that's on FX coming up at 5:30 Eastern. Let's check the points standings. This is the 15th race of the season. Sterling Marlin, his worst finish of the year, finishing 21st. And you see Jimmy Johnson and his car owner, Jeff Gordon, third in the top 10.
Yeah, and Sterling really dodged the bullet because it looked like Jimmy Johnson was going to take a really big bite out of his point lead. And fortunately for him, he was able to salvage a pretty good day.
All right, dodging a silver bullet. More on Jimmy Johnson. Let's check down with Steve Burns. Steve?
Jimmy Johnson, not the finish that you wanted, but another impressive performance at front. Tell us about your day.
This is a great day. The guys gave me a great race car. Chad Knaus and everybody on the Slows team. Our pit stops, that we're getting better and better. There's still a couple guys a little faster than us, but just a great day all in all for the whole Lowe's team. Disappointed there at the end. You work so hard all day long to get track position and mileage and all the different stuff, and then you have that late race caution, and guys come in for 4 new tires, and everything shakes out differently. It's a great race for the fans, but disappointing on our end. Ryan bonsai'd it off in underneath us into 1, and got loose and shook me up the track, and once I lost that momentum, everybody just went blowing by. So, disappointed, but still, Ryan was doing what he needed to do to get his best finish. I just hate that it turned out that way there at the end, but it was a great day for the Lowe's Monte Carlo.
All right, thanks, Steve and Jimmy, as you get a look at Michigan International Speedway on this Father's Day. And for Matt Kenseth, at the age of 13, his father, very proud. Kenseth himself at age 30 is a father. And he tells the story. His father said, I'll buy a race car and drive it if you work on it. And then at age 16, Matt, he worked on it. He got to drive it. Said it prepared him to do a lot more than just sit behind the wheel of a car.
It really has. And Matt has turned out to be, quite a gentleman and really a great race car driver. And not just recently, I had an email from his father.
Yeah, you said something, I guess, defending Matt Kenseth at Charlotte on decision.
A lot of people thought maybe he pulled over and let, car owner and teammate Mark Martin win that race. And that's not the case. Matt is an aggressive race car driver. He wants to win. And his father was very nice, sent me an email saying that, I was defending Matt in that case right there. And I really appreciate that. And I think he's just a great gentleman. And, I think Matt represents him well.
Matt's first career NASCAR Winston Cup victory was in 2000 in the Coca-Cola 600. Roush Racing, 5th win for the Roush Racing team in 15 races. Very, very impressive.
These guys right here get stronger each time. And Matt just seems like he's a guy who's leading it on.
Now there's the cat in the hat
right there.
Looks well. He's moving around.
Well, he's at home and he's just really having a great time. You can see he's really getting ready to throw those crutches away, and he'll be back up to full speed for much longer.
And Ford's led 133 laps. Ford has dominated in this race. In fact, the top 3 finishers were Ford in this race, starting with Matt Kenseth and then Dale Jarrett and Ryan Newman. And Pontiac, which got a little bit of the help with the spoiler adjustment, did it help in the big picture?
In the big picture, you got to think right now, Johnny Benson wound up finishing 6th, and I think he did an excellent job. But before we get much farther, I want to talk about the folks at Ford. We have the Ford Cutaway car, which is a very intricate part of our broadcast.
Yes.
And recently, the people that carried around for us, their transporter burned down, and we were very fortunate that Dave Carroll and the Dr. Pepper team came on board last week and helped to get the car to Pocono, and we got it up here to Michigan. And we really want to tell those folks right there, thank you for helping us out.
Yes, without that, the Cutaway car can't be with us. And the drivers here were on a mission from Michigan as Dan Aykroyd, one of the Blues Brothers, starting the race on Father's Day. Near the home of Henry Ford, Ford's dominated. Jimmy Johnson led at lap 61, but in the end, Matt Kenseth pulls into victory lane. Next week, it's on to the wine country and Sonoma, California. Happy Father's Day from all of us to all the dads out there. And thanks for watching NASCAR on Fox.